Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Cabbage Head Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Had Vitality and Alteration Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Izuku Midoriya was just another happy 6-year-old boy who wanted to become a hero. Or so it seemed to those around him. He was still learning to control his quirk. His quirk, Alteration, allowed him to change his appearance into anything he wished, as long as he had seen it before. He could also change the appearance of inanimate objects into living ones, like turning a rock into a bird. However, Izuku's father, Hisashi Midoriya, didn't approve of the quirk, calling it useless, and telling Izuku he might as well be quirkless. 9 years ago, Izuku had just come in from playing with his friend, Kacchan, also known as Katsuki Bakugo. They had been friends for as long as he could remember. When he entered the house, his mother, Izuku Midoriya, was sitting on the couch with a half-empty bottle in hand. It had been a month since his father was arrested, and ever since, Izuku had taken over the role of tormenting Izuku daily. As he tried to sneak by her unnoticed, a small knife flew in from the kitchen, hitting him in the leg. This was the work of his mother's quirk, telekinesis, though it was a weak form that could only move small objects. All Izuku could feel was pain as he fell to the floor, screaming. He had never been hurt like this before. His mother stood up and walked over to him, saying, "Oh Izuku, it's all your fault he's gone. You did this." And thus began the worst years of his life. Present time. 14-year-old Izuku woke up to his alarm clock blaring in his ear. He looked at the time, 4:30 a.m. Another day in paradise. He sighed heavily and went over to his closet to grab his middle school uniform. After getting dressed, Izuku quickly scurried into the bathroom and locked the door before his mother could throw anything at him. After 10 minutes of crying, he washed off the blood and bandaged his arm. As soon as he grabbed his bag and headed for the door, another knife whizzed past his face. He heard his mother say from behind the wall. She emerged from her hiding spot, leaving without saying goodbye to your dear old mother, Izuku? She spat his name as if it were an insult. "I didn't mean to leave without saying goodbye," he stuttered, unable to control his shaking. "You're pathetic, boy. Can't even say goodbye properly," she sneered. With that, Izuku's eyes widened in fear, and he practically flung himself out the door. He glanced at his watch, realizing he only had 5 minutes to get to class. After a moment of panic, he transformed into an oversized gray and green cat and ran as fast as he could to school. In his last class, the teacher finished up a lecture on how quirks came to be and praised the class for their abilities. Izuku still received disgusted looks and daily threats from his classmates. They believed he was quirkless because he never used his powers, and even the teachers played along, despite knowing the truth. Only Kacchan knew what Izuku's quirk was, and he participated in the bullying, calling Izuku Deku, which meant useless. "Bakugo, you are planning on going for UA no?" the teacher asked. "Yeah, what's it to ya? You're all just extras meant for me to use as a stepping stool to victory," Bakugo replied, glaring at the class. "Midoriya, you are also planning to go to UA from what I've heard?" the teacher continued, wanting to watch Izuku suffer as his classmates laughed and insulted him. Suddenly, small explosions erupted from Bakugo's hands as he stood next to Izuku's desk. Izuku looked at Bakugo with tired eyes and said, "So what if I am? I have a quirk, and I will use it." The teacher slipped out of the class, leaving Bakugo and his followers to torment Izuku further. "Listen here, you shitty dude. You are useless. I am going to become the #1 hero. Not you," Bakugo shouted, though the mini explosions in his hands had calmed down. Izuku, feeling defeated, simply replied, "Although, I doubt the world wants an oversized Bomberanian as their savior." His gaze was filled with pain, yet nobody could see his silent plea for help. To put it simply, you are an oversized Bomberanian that nobody is going to willingly follow. The next thing Izuku saw was a large hand slamming on his desk, accompanied by a loud explosion. "How about you take my advice, you nerd, and go take a dive off the tallest building here? I'm sure nobody would miss you." Not like anybody wants a Deku like you around anyway. Laughter erupted in the classroom as everyone left. Soon after, the teacher returned and gave Izuku a fine for the burn mark on the desk. The young boy packed his things silently, handed over his lunch money for the month, and left the classroom. Time skipped to the slime incident. All Might had just left Izuku on the roof after shattering any hope he had left of becoming a hero, saying that his immature quirk belonged in dark alleyways with the villains. Izuku remembered one phrase from the whole mantra: "Your quirk has more use for villainy than it does heroics. Altering appearances and inanimate objects doesn't help save lives." He stood there, tears streaming down his face, silent sobs for no one to hear. He watched as All Might seemingly headed toward an explosion-ridden area about 6 miles away. The heroes should all be there, he thought. I can finally do something right. He quickly pulled out a piece of paper and a pen and began to write. Dear Mom, I still love you somehow. After everything you have put me through, somehow. I still love you. Either way, I hope you find peace. What kind of mother stabs her son daily? Tells him he is a failure and should have never been born? Let me give you your early birthday present. In a deserted alleyway. I can just picture your reaction now. Maybe I'll see my father in the afterlife. Maybe I won't. All I want you to know is that I will be happy without you, and you will be happier without me. Next time you see Kacchan, tell him thank you for opening my eyes on how to end my pain. Goodbye. Dear whoever finds this. I don't know if this will ever be found. Nobody cares for a Deku like me. That's what I've been told every day. Anyway, I'm sorry if you found my body. I was hoping it would be my mother to find me when she comes looking for me. I've come to my limit. So if you happen to see a green dot in the sky that is coming down with no intention of stopping, that would be me. Please don't try and stop me. Everyone would be better off this way. Dear Shoyuda Aizawa and Yamada Hisashi, thank you for letting me seek refuge in your house when I needed it. Thank you for everything. Even though you may not know my backstory, you never hesitated to help me. Tell your cats that I love them and will see them in the afterlife eventually. Goodbye everyone. Live happier. Please. Izuku Midoriya. And with that, Izuku Midoriya stood at the edge of the railing, saying his final words. Flashback. Shoyuda Aizawa and Yamada Hisashi had been best friends since UA. They graduated and became pro-heroes. Shoyuda Aizawa became the underground hero, Eraserhead, whose quirk allows him to erase others' quirks until he blinks. Yamada Hisashi became known as the popular hero, Present Mic, whose quirk allows him to increase the volume of his voice dramatically. A couple of years after graduating, they decided to get married. They had been dating since their second year at UA. A year later, they adopted a baby boy named Hitoshi Shinso. Now, they live in a decent-sized house with 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. One day, Hisashi convinced Shoyuda to go shopping with him at the. They bought a few groceries and, believe it or not, 2 more cats, bringing their total to 8. Once outside, they realized it was quite late, around 11 o'clock at night. Seeing as the duo had 2 very precious cargo, Shoyuda decided it was best to take the busier, more well-lit roads to avoid any villains. I think the others needed more friends, don't you, Sho? Hisashi looked to his side to see that Shoyuda wasn't there. He abruptly turned around to see his lover staring down a dimly lit alleyway. Sho? What's wrong? Hisashi asked tentatively. Sho softly set down the bags and cat he was carrying and quietly beckoned for Hisashi to come over. The overgrown cockatoo grew concerned, set his things down as well, and quietly walked over to see what Shoyuda was staring at. As he neared the alleyway, he heard soft sobbing. Hisashi immediately felt his heart clench because it sounded like a child. A child in pain. Sure enough, there was a young boy, collapsed against the alleyway wall, clutching his leg and torso. I'm no good with kids. You're up, Shoyuda whispered dully. Hisashi slowly walked over to the boy and crouched down in front of him. Hey, little listener, can you look at me? The boy, shaking tremendously, looked at him. Hisashi almost cried out in shock at the boy. This boy was no older than their son. He had startlingly green eyes with not a speck of life in them, only pain and sorrow. His jade green hair was a matted mess, And from what Hisashi could see, his hands were covered in blood. Is that your blood or someone else's, kid? Hisashi questioned, getting ready to defend himself if necessary. The boy moved his hands to reveal several gashes that were bleeding profusely. Hisashi immediately called for Shoyuta to call an ambulance, but the boy screamed, "No. No, no, no. Please, no hospital. I'll be fine. Just leave me alone. Please." Shoyuta hesitantly came over to the boy and crouched beside him. "What's your name, kid?" "Izuku Midoriya," he whispered, barely audible. The couple looked at each other worriedly. Izuku then started coughing and struggling to breathe. "We gotta take him to recovery, girl," Shoyuta said firmly. If the two had learned anything over the several years of being pro-heroes, it was to bring the victim to the next best medical source. Bringing them where they didn't want to be could trigger panic attacks and often lead to someone getting hurt. Hisashi called recovery girl, preparing for the earful about calling so late at night. "Mike, this had better be good or I will not hesitate to take your cats for the week." Hisashi immediately paled and explained what had happened. He didn't want to lose his precious pets, but he didn't want to lose this boy either. Izuku soon fell into a deep sleep. The last thing he remembered was a man in dark clothing telling him to stay awake, but Izuku just wanted to sleep. He was so tired. He decided to apologize later if they were still around and drifted his eyelids closed. 2 days later, Izuku awoke with a violent scream. He had dreamt about what had happened to him. Hisashi, Shoyuta, and Chio came flying into the room, eyes wide and breathing panicky. Izuku noticed as Shinso peeked in the room to see what the ruckus was. It looked as if they hadn't gotten any sleep for days, which was mostly true, excluding small naps. Hisashi slowly approached Izuku. "Hey, little listener. Do you remember us?" It took Izuku a moment to remember what had happened after he ran away. The young boy started to feel like he was suffocating. He couldn't breathe and backed up as far as he could. Chio immediately took notice. "Midoriya, please listen to my voice and try to match your breathing to the pace of the tapping." She started to tap her little cane on the ground in a steady motion. After 5 minutes, the boy finally calmed down enough to be coherent again. "Please don't send me back. Don't make me go back. Please, please, please." Izuku kept repeating the please. The three adults looked at each other with slightly horrified glances and then back at the boy. Shoyuta broke the silence. "Sorry, kid, but we don't know you. You gotta go back as soon as you recover." With that said, Izuku looked at them with indescribable fear and passed out. "Good job, jackass," Hisashi remarked at Shoyuta, only to receive a whack over the head. "What? I'm only stating the truth. We don't need any more problem children in our lives." Morning. Izuku woke up to an empty room. Confused, he sat up only to be greeted with a massive headache that slowly subsided. "Ah. I remember now. I should get out of here before they realize I'm awake," the greenette thought. He quietly slipped out of bed, laced up his Converse, threw on a hoodie from the small closet outside his door, and attempted to leave. Attempted. But, "Problem child, where do you think you're going?" Shoyuta shouted from down the hallway, looking at the boy's hoodie. "Give me my hoodie back." Izuku looked down at the hoodie, and indeed, there were several cats on it. The boy quickly scrambled out of the hoodie, accidentally taking his shirt off with it. "I gotta run. God damn it, I need my shirt." "Well." Izuku's eyes darted behind Shoyuta, and he saw the open door. He ran for it, swiftly ducking under Shuta's extended arm. And with that, he was gone. Until he came back later. Izuku was well enough to leave another day later, and so he did. Only to be welcomed home with a knife in his shoulder. "Where have you been, you pathetic thing?" Izuku cried out in pain, still sore from his previous ordeal. His mother grabbed him by his hair and dragged him into the kitchen. She slammed his hand down on the scalding hot burner for a few seconds. Izuku screamed until his vocal cords could scream no more, collapsing in his room from the pain. This CYCL of ending up at Shoyuta and Hisashi's house continued about once a month from that day forward. Present time. Shoyuta hadn't seen his favorite problem child in a while, so he went to the one spot where Izuku would probably be until 10 p.m. His partner, Hisashi, had decided to tag along because he missed the boy as well. As they neared the building where Izuku usually stayed for several hours after school, they noticed him sitting unsettlingly close to the edge of the 24-story-high warehouse rooftop. After parking their truck, Shoyuta and Hisashi shared a knowing look and immediately scaled the fire escape of the building until they reached the top. Shoyuta, being an underground hero, had very sensitive hearing at night. He heard Izuku mumbling to himself. Shoyuta glanced over at Hisashi, only to see him pale at an alarming rate. Hisashi had found Izuku's note. Before Shoyuta could say anything, Hisashi urged, "Catch him before he does it." Izuku had transformed into a bird and started flying straight up, increasing his height to decrease his chance of surviving a fall. Shuta's mind raced. Luckily, he had his capture weapon and made a small net across the alleyway. The lovers looked up to see Izuku free-falling from a height equivalent to a 50-story building. Hisashi positioned himself under the net, standing on the fire escape, and used one of his hardest special moves with his quirk, called Ricochet. He released a silent sound wave, causing Izuku to bounce off it somewhat harshly, but it was better than the alternative. Shoyuta quickly grabbed him with his capture weapon. Panic surged through Shoyuta as he desperately searched for a pulse. He put his ear to Izuku's chest and listened for a heartbeat. He's still alive. Barely, but his pulse is... He is in no condition to be moved. Call Chio, she'll know what to do. We can put him in the bed of the truck, Hisashi suggested. That'll work. I'll lower him down with my scarf. Hisashi immediately called Chio, who said she would arrive in 5 minutes. She had been in a meeting with Nizu, All Might, and Snipe about a kid who kept getting hurt in training. All Might offered to fly her over, as it would be the quickest option for the emergency. As soon as Chio and All Might reached the rooftop, All Might froze, instantly recognizing the boy. How am I going to explain this? What if he wakes up? His thoughts raced. Little did he realize that Izuku had left a note detailing what All Might had said to him. Hisashi and Shoyuta were livid. Aizawa saw red. Hisashi tried to calm him down, but it was too late when he and Chio saw All Might get kicked into a wall. Once satisfied, Shoyuta rushed over to Izuku and began to talk to him, hoping that Izuku could hear them and hold on just a little longer. Then, in a surprising moment, Shoyuta started to sing to the slowly fading boy. He had an appealing baritone voice that he rarely used. Hisashi had only heard him sing once, years ago when their son Shinso was practicing his quirk. "Hey kid, if you can hear me." Shuta's voice trailed off as he softly sang to Izuku while he was lowered into the truck. All Might returned, looking slightly battered, filled with deep regret for what he had said. He wasn't in the best headspace at the time and had accidentally released his frustration on a boy. No one could take that guilt off his shoulders until Izuku woke up. Little did the heroes know that it would be longer than 2 days this time. A frantic Shoyuta ran inside the hospital to get help for Izuku. "Help! My son is injured." Several nurses and a doctor rushed around the corner. "Sir, I need you to remain calm and tell us where he is," the doctor instructed. "There are 2 others bringing him in currently. He's in critical condition with a nearly non-existent pulse. His name is Izuku Yamada." He purposely changed Izuku's last name to Yamada to prevent the hospital from contacting his mother. No more than 10 seconds later, All Might entered, cradling the boy carefully in his arms. All Might had tears running down his face. He wasn't smiling. Izuku looked awfully pale. The trauma nurses quickly recovered from their initial shock of seeing the boy with several pro-heroes and took him from the hero's care. Heart rate 20 BPM and dropping. Blood pressure is 60 over left shoulder is dislocated. Lumbar vertebrae L3 and L4 appear to be cracked. Fractured 12th rib. We need to get him into the OR immediately. The heroes watched as they took Izuku into the operating room, looking helplessly at each other. Everyone except All Might was still standing. All Might had sat down with his head in his hands, rocking back and forth. "What have I done?" he kept repeating. "Hey, you need to read this." Hisashi handed All Might the letter that Izuku had written. After a couple of stunned minutes, All Might spoke up, "I'm so sorry. I had no idea. He told me Shoyuta cut him off angrily. "He told you what exactly? That he wanted to grow up to be just like you? That he wanted to be a hero like you?" That he wanted to save people just like you saved all those people in the building fire last year? You told a boy who was obviously already injured that he had no use as a hero, that the only thing he could become was a villain. And you call yourself a hero, the symbol of peace. Shoyuta was seething. Those around him were frozen due to the deadly aura he emitted. I will do anything I can to help young Izuku. I had no idea that his own parents were villains. His father was Dragon after all. I knew I recognized the last name, Midoriya. On top of that, he was being brutally bullied at school. For the first time ever, All Might started to softly cry in front of others. Chio, Shoyuta, Hisashi, and the few nurses around stared at the powerful man in shock. Shoyuta awkwardly patted All Might on the back. I'm not saying it is okay, but it's ultimately Izuku's decision whether to forgive you or not. They all nodded in response. 6 hours later, a doctor approached them, looking to be about 70, with a tag that read Himoya Koiru. We've done all that we can do. His spine has 2 metal plates and several screws. His shoulder will be sore but is otherwise fine. He lost a lot of blood, and we managed to heal his rib. The surgeries were successful, however, we don't know how long it will be until he wakes up. His body has gone into a state of hibernation. The heroes breathed out a heavy sigh of relief. When can we go see him? Hisashi asked. Will it be only you for visiting him? Hisashi nodded. Okay, then you can all go in now. Please be quiet and be very gentle. Shoyuta was on his way to the room before the doctor finished saying, okay. Hisashi and Chio immediately followed, and All Might hesitantly trailed behind. Izuku. As Izuku flew higher into the sky, he didn't dare look down at Sho and Zashi. He knew they had climbed up after him, but he never turned around to say goodbye. The sleeping pills he took after the incident with Kacchan started to kick in quickly. I'm sorry Sho and Zashi, but this is the only way I can be free, Izuku thought to himself while slowly falling asleep and transforming back to his human form. When he was nearly all the way asleep, he hit something and bounced. Izuku felt several things in his back crack along with a rib, and he sharply inhaled. The boy was soon wrapped in a fabric he vaguely recognized as Sho's capture scarf. The last thing he remembered was Shoyuta. Was that singing? Sorry Sho, but I'm just too tired. Let me do you one last favor by leaving. Izuku thought as he took what he hoped would be his last breath and slipped into full unconsciousness. When Izuku gained consciousness again, he was in a dark space. It was seemingly endless. He couldn't breathe or see. He couldn't feel anything. Suddenly, memories flooded through his mind. Izuku Midoriya approached him. You worthless! It's all your fault that he's gone. Crash! The sound of a bottle breaking echoed in his mind. Memories like that kept flying through his thoughts. One in particular caught his attention. Papa! 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 4-year-old Izuku ran up to his father. Yes, Izuku? His father replied dully. Papa, I got my quirk, but I can't use it very well. Hisashi Midoriya's head shot up from his work. Let me see, boy. Izuku nodded happily and transformed into a small kitten, then into a bear, and finally into a hawk. He touched his father's pencil, and it turned into a small lizard. Hisashi stared at the boy. That is your quirk? What is that? It's weak. I should have known you'd be like your mother. Inko walked in to see what the yelling was, only for Izuku to duck a blast of Hisashi's flames and hit her in the chest. And that was the day his torture began from both parents instead of just one. A voice interrupted his memories, making everything around him disappear and be replaced with a field full of pale blue roses and spider lilies. In the distance, the sun was setting, painting the sky in every color he could imagine: blue, pink, purple, green, and even silver in some spots. To his right, there was a massive mountain covered in cherry blossom trees. To his left, there was a massive ravine with faint screams coming from it. It's not your time yet, young Izuku, a soft voice called out to him. No, please don't let me go. But take me please. Don't wake me yet. I'm not ready to go back home. I can't face her again. She'll hurt me. Izuku pleaded with the voice. Do not fret, Izuku. You will be safe, the voice replied. How can you guarantee that? He asked. I should explain. My name is Himoya Okawo, but I go by Mishi. I am the previous owner of your dormant quirk. This quirk is called vitality. You can give or take life through physical contact or eye contact. You can also rewind injuries and heal things. Point is, use this quirk wisely or everything you know will be gone. It's difficult to MSTR. Get better soon, Izuku. With that, she left, and Izuku was left confused. He then heard more voices that sounded familiar. He tried to tune into the conversation. Any changes? One voice asked. No, I'm sorry, sir. Just his mumbling. Also, we found another quirk in him. Do you know of this? Another voice responded. No, I don't. Why? The first voice replied. The quirk we found is extremely powerful. It hasn't been seen since the owner of it died at 10 years old. She was killed by All for One, who wanted the quirk. This quirk is called vitality. It can be used to give or take life through physical contact or eye contact. It can also be used to heal and rewind injuries. She drained her own life and vowed to give her soul and quirk to someone worthy. Until now, we were beginning to believe it was a myth. Both voices were stunned by this information. It can be restrained, however. Glasses or a visor of some sort can be used to prevent someone from being harmed, one of them explained. Okay then. We'll talk more about this when he wakes, the first voice said. We don't know when he will wake up, however. He's been asleep for 3 months. We can't hide him from his mother for much longer. She's been looking all over, the second voice replied. All we can do is wait, you two, a woman interjected. Izuku drifted back into a restless slumber. 4 days later, Izuku woke again, yet his eyelids felt incredibly heavy and wouldn't open. He heard people talking again and decided to listen in. In custody. Izuku Midoriya. Thank you, one voice said. They got her finally? Another asked. Yeah. The scars and bruises covering Izu's body were reason enough to put her away for at least 12 years, came the reply. Does she know of Izuku's new quirk? The second voice started but was cut off. No. She doesn't, the first voice responded. After falling asleep again, Izuku tried to open his eyes. His vision was instantly filled with intense bright light, and he smelled cleaning chemicals. The steady beep of the heart monitor sped up as he woke. He looked around, still semi-delusional from sleeping for so long. He saw nobody in the room. The heart monitor began to speed up. Everything came rushing back to him. The attempt to escape, the sleeping pills, everything. Izuku heard a tiny shuffling sound and looked to his right. On the ground was a boy around his age with puffy purple hair, who looked like he was sleeping. Panic surged through Izuku as he didn't have the best experiences with new people. It felt like the heart monitor was screaming in his ears. He couldn't breathe and tears welled up in his eyes. The purple-haired boy woke up and made eye contact. Wa? Oh no, he exclaimed and ran out of the room. Moments later, Shoyuta and Hisashi came rushing in to see Izuku in the middle of a panic attack. Shoyuta immediately went over to him and wrapped his arms around him. It's okay, Izuku. I'm here. Zashi is here. Chio is getting coffee. She'll be here soon. Izuku quickly calmed down and took in his surroundings. She got arrested, right? Izuku spoke quietly, his voice raspy. Shoyuta took a moment to process what he had said. Hisashi grabbed some water for him. Yeah, good. She's gone. You're safe now. You have us, Shoyuta replied softly while rubbing his back. Thank you, Shokun. Izuku said, surprising Shoyuta. Hisashi interrupted, Hey, a little listener, I know this isn't the best time to tell you this, but there's someone here that might trigger you a little bit. But please hear him out. Okay. Izuku looked at Hisashi with a questioning expression. Okay. Hisashi left and returned a minute later with all might. Izuku froze but quickly masked his shock with anguish. What do you want, All Might? Izuku didn't know where this newfound confidence was coming from, but he was embracing it. All Might pulled up a chair to sit next to him and began to explain everything. He explained how he would do anything to prove how sorry he was. How he didn't have a good day, and it was busy, and he needed to vent. However, he vented to the wrong person. It's alright, Yagi. Just don't do that ever again. Never doubt my potential. I will turn your outfit into millions of spiders. Or just turn you to dust. The greenette mumbled the last part. Everyone stared at Izuku in horror and shock. All froze when the fragile-looking boy said his given name, Yagi. How do you know my name, young Midoriya? All Might caught himself before he could reveal the surprise for the boy. I heard you talking about coffee a while ago, and someone said Yagi, and it matched your voice. I put 2 and 2 together, and boom, your name is Yagi. Okay then. Well, on that note, little listener, we got a surprise for you. Zashi was cut off by Shuta's quirk. Oops. But like I was saying, we have a surprise for you. And we need to have a talk about your new quirk. Vitality. The girl told me we would have to talk about this. I have some control over it. Due to the adults looking confused, he continued, her name was Mishi Okawo, and her soul merged with mine, giving me knowledge on how to control it. Anyway, we can talk about that later. Izuku looked between the two skeptically. Well? Go on with your surprise or whatnot. He urged them while waving his hand in circular motions. Hisashi laughed. Sho and I have decided to adopt you. Needless to say, Izuku was beyond stunned. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he started to cry. Sho and Zashi looked at each other worriedly. Hey little listener, what's the matter? And nobody has ever wanted me before. Zashi winced at the statement and gently hugged Izuku. Thank you. Both of you, he said quietly but sincerely. Don't thank us, All Might gave us the idea. I'm still calling him Twat Might amongst other names. Ah, seems as though her personality merged with you too. The doctor entered once again. Please tell Okawo I love her, that is if you see her again. The doctor was cut off by Izuku's eyes changing color to a blazing purple and green galaxy. I love you too, father, Izuku replied in a higher tone of voice. The greenette's eyes reverted back to his normal green, and he passed out. After recovering from the shock of finding out that the adoption was All Might's idea and Izuku's new quirk involved momentarily being possessed by a dead girl, Sho, Zashi, and Izuku stopped by his house to pick up some things. Izuku was anxious about what they might think of his room. Hey kid, you're mumbling. Don't worry, we won't judge whatever you're worried about, Shoyuta reassured him. Izuku nodded hesitantly and opened the door to his house. All the memories of his mother's abuse came flooding back. He felt the tears build up, his throat closing in, and the room felt like it was tilting. Shoyuta caught Izuku just as he started to fall. Lay him down on the couch. The memories must have been too much at once for the little listener, Zashi stated. You don't say, Sho deadpanned. About 10 minutes later, Izuku woke up on the couch. Oh, well, it was good while it lasted. Hisashi and Shoyuta had gone to check out the rest of the boy's house. Izuku stood up and looked around. There were still shattered glass bottles scattered on the floor. Knives were still pinned in the wall. His own blood was still on the wall in some places. He thought to himself, figures Mom wouldn't clean up after herself. He went to the kitchen. Mom. No reply. Mom, you home? He called out again, yet no reply. Shoyuta was coming down the stairs and heard the boy calling. Did problem child forget everything that's happened? He thought. I wish that dream or nightmare or whatever was real. At least I got a break for now. Would have been cool to have that life and death quirk. Izuku sighed from the kitchen. Hisashi came down the stairs next to him and was listening as well. He thinks it was a dream? The overgrown cockatoo looked confused. Shoyuta shushed him, and they decided to listen for a while longer. They heard him call someone on the home phone. Hey Jiro. No, she isn't. It's okay. I went over to Dadzawa and Papashi's place last night, I think. Yeah, I'm all healed up again. What? I couldn't have been. I just woke up on the couch. Okay, I'll be waiting. Shoyuta and Hisashi blushed at the nicknames. They finished checking out the rest of the house, and when they were about to make their presence known, there was a heavy pounding on the door. Zook, it's me. They watched Izuku race to the door, stick his head out, and look around before letting in the girl. She looked to be around Izuku's age, with dark indigo hair, and dangling from her earlobes were earphone jacks. Shoyuta and Hisashi stared at each other, both thinking the same thing. This poor kid. They took in their surroundings, The blood-stained walls, the smell of dirt and grime, the holes in the walls, and the small knives still stuck in the walls. Izuku ran up to her as soon as the door closed. After a few minutes, Izuku finally spoke. "What was it you wanted to show me?" Jiro hesitated and pulled up an article on her phone about Izuku being missing and his mom in jail. He stood there frozen. "It wasn't all a dream." Jiro shook her head just as Sho cleared his throat, making his presence known. Izuku jumped, and with a small poof, he transformed into a kitten. Meow. Jiro, Hisashi, and Shoyuta recovered from their shock quickly. "Zook, can you change back please?" Jiro asked, and with another poof, Izuku was back in his human form. "Sorry. I do that when I get scared sometimes," he apologized. "So, I'm really gonna have a family that cares now?" "Yes, now let's go get your stuff." Shinso already cleared out one of the spare rooms, Shoyuta said dully. "Oh okay." He quickly ran up the stairs to grab the few possessions he had. Jiro stood awkwardly in the kitchen, unsure how to feel about Izuku staying with the pro heroes. "Hurt him and I'll kill you." That's both a threat and a warning. The two adults looked shocked, but by the time they recovered, she was already on her way up to Izuku's room. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey, I have a question." "What's up, Zook? Is it normal to be scared?" "Of course it is. Don't worry, we all have your back." Izuku almost forgot about the rest of the squad, including Himiko Toga and Dabi, also known as Tuya Todoroki. "I miss them, G. I miss them too. We can see them tonight if you want. We were planning on meeting up at the usual spot anyway. Maybe hit up a place or two." Izuku snorted. "Oh, it's been a while since we've done that as a group. It's a date. See you at the usual. 9 p.m. sharp, got it?" The greenette nodded eagerly. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." Jiro left Izuku to finish packing and started reminiscing about the good times ahead. Meanwhile, Izuku knew Jiro was waiting right outside the door. "It's best to hide my new quirk for now." Little did they know, Shoyuta had been listening in on the whole conversation. He didn't trust Jiro anyway. He quickly went back to Hisashi. "There's something the kid isn't telling us." "What?" Hisashi asked, deadpan. "There is something going on. We're going to follow them to whatever they're doing tonight. Him and that Jiro girl. They're meeting up with someone." The blonde nodded slowly in agreement. A few minutes later, Jiro came down with Izuku. "Hey, ready? Let's go, you listener." Izuku could sense that the adults were keeping something from him. Do they know? Did they hear the conversation between me and G? His thoughts raced. "Phew. Izuku." Whack, someone called his name and then playfully hit the back of his head. "Oh, what was that for?" "You were mumbling again," Shoyuta shrugged, continuing to walk before stopping again. "Also, you can call me and Zashi, Dadzawa and Papa Zashi. We don't mind." He smirked and walked away, leaving a beet-red Izuku in his wake. They heard that. Once they arrived at the house, a purple-haired boy came flying down the stairs. "Dad. Is he here?" "Yeah, Ao." Hisashi stepped aside to reveal a shy-looking Izuku. "It's you." The two boys screamed at each other, and one turned into a tiny kitten. Instantly, Shoyuta had hearts in his eyes and picked up the kitten, cradling it gently. Shinso Aizawa. No scaring the new problem child. Not yet at least. Let him settle in first. "Sorry, Dad. I'm just really excited to have a new friend finally. Besides the cats." As if on cue, several cats came barreling out from all directions of the house. "Zuku, can you change back please?" "Okay, so we have 12 cats. Mocha, Americano, Latte, French, Cappuccino, Cappy, Macchiato, Mac, Cordido, Cory, Cafe, Doppio, Espresso, Affogato, Affy, and Bean. Bean and Affy are the youngest. Cory hates everybody. Don't mess with her." Izuku saw a bobcat-looking cat come barreling around the corner. He screamed, "What is that?" "HM? But that's Cory." Note to self. Don't mess with that cat. He suddenly remembered he had a meeting at the park to get to in an hour. Where is my room? Follow me, home slice. The greenette looked at the two adults with a confused stare. Don't look at us. And with that, they left for their own room. Sigh, okay let's go. At 8:45, Izuku threw on a black jacket, gray skinny ripped jeans, red high tops, and grabbed one of his masks along with a small drawstring bag. He slid open the window, hopped out, and raced down the street to the park. 8. He looked back to make sure nobody was following him, then shifted into a gazelle. Izuku finally arrived at the park with 3 minutes to spare. Huff, huff, huff. He shifted back and sat on the swings. Crimson, is that you? He shot up and saw Dabi and Toga running his way with Jiro walking behind them. Izuku laughed with a genuine smile. Hey guys, I haven't seen you in so long. I almost forgot about being the Crimson Reaper. 30 minutes later. Alright guys, whose house are we going to hit up? Oh, somewhere with a few people I can collect blood from. I know a place. Same. Enough, Izuku semi-yelled. We'll hit up both. Suit up. With that, they all went behind a different tree or bush and changed into their villain attire. Jiro wore a teal and black jacket with speakers, black bass-boosted boots, a pitch changer on her wrist, black jeans, an orange shirt, a white and teal belt, headphones, and fingerless speaker gloves. Toga's outfit was well known among them. Dabi donned a black trench coat with white stitching along the shoulders and metal cuffs on the elbows, a white t-shirt, a white belt, black jeans, and black boots. Izuku sported a blood-red button-up shirt, a black suit vest, nice black jeans, black combat boots, and carried a soul scythe. The soul scythe was crafted from Izuku's new quirk, Vitality, made from the life force of those he had encountered. It featured a silver and black blade with feathers painted onto it and a thin metal handle wrapped with an extremely durable cord. What the teens didn't realize was that Shoyuta and Hisashi were watching from a tree above. Why does the Crimson Reaper sound familiar? Shoyuta asked. We'll find out later. Are the villains? Hisashi replied. It makes sense, seeing he's been basically on his own. Let's go. They followed the group silently. All right, Crimson. You're up. Also, I like the new addition to your costume, Dabi said, pointing to the scythe. With a poof, Izuku transformed into an ant and scurried under the back door of the house they were targeting. Once inside and seeing the coast was clear, he shifted back to his human form and unlocked the door for his friends. Good job. Dabi and Toga, you do your thing. Zook, let's go. Dabi and Toga began causing chaos, burning and breaking things. The people sleeping in their rooms woke up to the noise but were trapped inside due to a chair blocking the handles. Jiro and Izuku grabbed anything that looked valuable, including jewelry, collector's blades, guns, ammo, and a silver briefcase with a lock on it. Once most of the house was vandalized, the group ran away, laughing. Hisashi looked to Shoyuta in horror. We need to stop this. Now. Yeah, it seems that way. Call midnight or whatever to help secure them. 5 minutes later, the group was back at the park, looking through their new treasures. Dabi and Jiro, take what you want. Toga, you can have all these knives except this one, Izuku said, holding up a black knife with a foreign language etched into the side like a warning. Izuku, can I melt this lock? Dabi pointed to the briefcase. Izuku nodded, and the lock melted away in seconds. Dabi opened the briefcase to reveal at least $8,000 and a set of tanto blades along with a note. Izuku opened the note and read it. Izuku, my boy, it was only a matter of time before you hit our house. Dad is proud of you for becoming the man you are. I'll be seeing you soon, boy. Izuku paled, grabbing the blades, his stack of cash, for bottles of vodka they had taken, and a ring that looked valuable. I got a G-go, guys. Thanks for a G good night. With that, the greenette ran off, accidentally dropping the note. As soon as he stepped into his room, Shoyuta was waiting for him. Oh no, Izuku thought. I'm in trouble. We need to have a talk. Izuku froze halfway in the bedroom. Sho, how are you tonight? He rubbed the back of his neck with a nervous smile. Cut the act, Izuku. Your friends are currently being booked down at the station, Shoyuta replied monotonously. We need to talk. Let's go. Izuku opened his mouth to respond, but he was wrapped in a familiar scarf and dragged down the stairs. He realized he was still in his Crimson Reaper outfit. Hisashi was waiting in the living room with Detective Naomasa, Tsukachi, Chio, Namuri, All Might, and Shinso hiding in the background. "Ah, Izuku. Nice of you to join us," Naomasa greeted grimly. Izuku was grateful that he had thought to shrink his scythe down to the size of a jacket pin and place it in his pocket. "Please take a seat and explain," Shoyuta demanded. Fine. No need to be so serious," Izuku replied, earning a glare from the adults. As he sat down, Naomasa began his questioning. "We can do this here or at the station in a more hostile environment. Here will do for now. Just know that I'm not answering certain questions," Izuku replied darkly, his head hanging low. The aura he emitted was truly intimidating. "I see. What's your ambition? Hero, vigilante, or villain?" "At the moment, vigilante, borderline villain." "Your friends won't give their names up, so who are they?" "Jiro, Dabi, Toga. Figure them out." "What's your alias?" At this, Izuku looked up at Naomasa with a wicked glint in his eyes. "You really want to know, Mr. Lie Detector?" "Yes." The adults all looked at him, ready to intervene if necessary. "All right, I need to stand up and have access to my pocket, though." Shoyuta hesitated but took the scarf off, allowing the boy to stand. "Ah, that feels better. I'm going to go into the backyard so I don't accidentally hurt one of you, and so nobody sees what I'm about to do. Besides you, of course." Izuku chuckled darkly. It's like someone else took over his body, Hisashi thought. What the hell? Namuri's turned to be baffled. "I don't like this," All Might and Shoyuta thought as Izuku walked into the backyard. The vigilante stopped, reached up, and took a pin off his vest pocket. "Fra ask till craft, loft deg op." He mumbled the Norse chant and threw the pin into the air. There was a gray flash, and a massive scythe appeared in the sky, landing in Izuku's outstretched hand. With a powerful voice, he continued, "I am." He looked up with a psychotic smile, the Crimson Reaper. Izuku's eyes then turned into a blazing purple and green galaxy. "I am a fragment of his soul, Himoya Okawo. A pleasure to meet you all. I apologize for his actions, however, his mind and soul are hurting with unimaginable pain, and he has nobody who has truly been willing to talk with him. Even his closest friends who you took away only know a fraction of his pain and loneliness. I will let you all see a bit of his past. I must go before I wear his soul out too much." With that, Izuku's eyes returned to green, and he passed out again. This was the first time Chio, Namuri, All Might, Shoyuta, Hisashi, and Naomasa were able to see Izuku's temporary eye color. Due to the darkness outside, his eye color was even brighter, making the detailed galaxy easier to see. Izuku fell to the ground, and the scythe reverted to its pin-sized form. Shoyuta approached the downed boy cautiously before Naomasa stopped him. "I'm taking him to the station, please." Namuri cut him off. "Can someone please explain what just happened?" Hisashi, All Might, and Shoyuta exchanged uncertain glances. "Let's get him secured first." Hisashi picked up the unconscious boy and brought him to the couch. "Shinso, I know you're there. Go get a bandana or something to wrap around his eyes." Yeah, I'm going," the purple-haired insomniac grumbled, grabbing a cloth from the cabinet and handing it to Hisashi. So apparently while Izuku was in a coma, he was chosen as the successor for an unbelievably powerful quirk called Vitality. He can give or take away from someone's life force through physical contact and/or eye contact. He can also rewind injuries and heal broken things. The previous owner was hunted and killed in a fight with All for One. She wanted to protect her quirk. Instead of giving it to him, she left a trace of her soul behind to find and guide a worthy successor. She found Izuku, chose him, and now here we are. And before you ask, I had no idea he was the Crimson Reaper. Practically everyone in the room except Shinso flinched at the mention of him. The Crimson Reaper was a name associated with both fear and admiration. He had killed hundreds but also saved thousands of lives, stopping several bomb attacks and rescuing people from disasters. Nobody had ever seen his face while fighting. Him, and only a few lucky opponents had heard his voice. So this is the Crimson Reaper, huh? Who would have thought it would be Izu? Hisashi stated sadly. Shoyuta cut in. Did you hear what Okawa said, though? She said that basically he's on the verge of breaking. He needs someone. We can do that. Right. They all nodded in agreement. A sudden groaning made them turn their heads to the couch. Izuku's body was flickering. Oh no, Hisashi mumbled. Oh no? What does that mean? Nemuri exclaimed, ever the drama queen. He's having a nightmare. It's probably going to get scary. Just back up, Shoyuta said, fear lacing his voice. They watched as Izuku transformed into a younger version of himself, wearing basketball shorts and no shirt. His ribs were very evident, and he looked to be about 8 years old. The onlookers watched in horror as his chest split open in a growing burn. His eyes opened, rolled back in his head, and burns came and went as he slowly aged. Suddenly, they were swept into an unfamiliar room. Hello. I see you stuck around. Okawa appeared. Stay quiet, you are in his memories. He is currently reliving them. I'll apologize for this later. Hisashi opened his mouth. What do you mean? This received a harsh glare from the silhouette of a girl. Stay quiet. Papa, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. They watched as a very young Izuku came into view. A tall, muscular man with wild black curls approached him with a menacing look. You brat. You call this homework? The man held up a small notebook, and Izuku gave a meek nod. You don't deserve to have a father as forgiving as me, you know? The boy cowered on the ground, not daring to look up, nodding frantically. I'm sorry, Papa. Please forgive me for my insolence. It came out as a whisper. The man chuckled darkly. You'll never escape me, Izuku. Don't try that again. Understand, brat? Yes, sir. Good. I'll let you off easy today. Turn around. Izuku turned around, his back facing the man. The man's chest swells and his throat glows. Not even a second later, black fire is spewed out onto Izuku's back. The screams were etched into the onlookers' memories forever. Naomasa blanched, Hisashi looked pale, Nemuri and Shoyuta had silent tears and were trembling, All Might wore a look of horror, and Shinso and Chio couldn't watch anymore, so Okawa let them exit the dreamscape. Okawa froze the memory. Are you ready for another one? I can let you choose. He has thousands. Their eyes widened in added horror. Shoyuta was the one to respond, yes. I want to be there for him, especially since we adopted him. He needs a friend. A real friend. The others nodded silently, and Okawa showed a holographic display with pictures of memories plastered all over. You can each pick one. They all chose a memory. Shoyuta selected one from last year. Hisashi chose one featuring his Reaper look. Nemuri and All Might chose side-by-side memories from a school ground, and Naomasa picked one with a masked man in it. Let's begin. The memory Shoyuta chose. Hey Zook. Jiro came running up to the greenette. Oh. Hey G, Izuku replied quietly, not turning around. They did it again, didn't they? Yeah. They did. Sai, let me see, Jiro requested. Izuku turned around, tears filling his eyes. He had a gash on his forehead, burn marks littering his chest, and a black eye. All right, let's go. Jiro grabbed his hand and started dragging him towards a familiar neighborhood. No. I've been enough of a burden on them. They don't even care. I'm just another problem child who gets hurt too much. They don't care. Don't you see that, Jiro? Do not care. Nobody does. Izuku whispered the last part before ripping his hand out of Jiro's grasp and limping away, leaving Jiro in her own tears and pain. Hisashi and Shoyuta felt slightly hurt but mostly guilty. They regretted making him feel that way. All Might couldn't say anything, he felt no better. Nemuri stood there with silent tears running down her face. Okawa froze the memory again. Okay, who's next? All Might spoke up, we can do the one I chose. Okawa smiled grimly. In order for yours to make sense, Nemuri's will have to go first. Is that all right? Yes. Sorry. Nemuri wiped her tears away and sniffled. Here you go. Nemuri's memory began. Izuku was sitting in the back of an alleyway, hiding and wearing his middle school uniform. It looked like he was writing in some sort of book. A boy who looked a year or two older walked up to him. "Hey, how's your diary coming along?" Izuku didn't even bother looking up. It seemed like he had earbuds in. The boy yanked the earbuds out of Izuku's ears. "Hey, listen when your senpai talks to you. Got it?" "Why yes, Tairai-senpai." Tairai smirked and grabbed Izuku, throwing him onto the ground. "You're so useless, you know? I don't know how your mother deals with someone like you. Maybe you should just walk in front of a train." He punched Izuku several times. "What is it that boy calls you? Deku, was it? Useless? Worthless? Pathetic?
Yeah.
That's you." Tairai left after kicking Izuku in the face. Izuku managed to grab his stuff and stand up after several minutes. Okawo froze the dream space again. "Okay, we're transitioning into All Might's choice now." The memory began, and Izuku was walking down the street towards Shuta's house to hopefully fix his broken nose. On his way there, he bumped into a man in a black trench coat. Oh, I'm sorry, sir," Izuku frantically apologized. The onlookers recognized the man as one of Izuku's comrades, Dabi. "It's okay, kid. You all right?" Dabi bent down to look at Izuku, who nodded. "Very well. Here's my number in case you want to talk." "Aight." Dabi put the number in Izuku's pocket and continued on. Izuku made it to the front door of Shoyuta and Hisashi's house when he heard arguing through the open window. "We can't have him keep coming here. It's obvious he gets bullied horribly, Sho. I don't care. He can find some other house. He needs to learn to go to the hospital instead of seeking sanctuary here. We have a kid." Shuta's voice was tense. "Fine, but if he shows up when I'm home, we're taking him in until he leaves again. Chio loves him anyway." Hisashi's voice was filled with frustration. He needs some stability in his life. What if it was Shinso in his situation? What it isn't. It's another boy in a tough situation. We can't save everyone. Shoyuta started to raise his voice. "Have it your way." Izuku heard stomping. When he turned around to leave the doorstep, the arguing started again. "Where are you going?" "You're drunk, Shoyuta." "I'm leaving. Call me when you feel like not being difficult. I'm taking Shinso." Hisashi replied coldly. "You can't do that." Shoyuta roared. "Well, watch me." Izuku started to run. The yelling became too much. He just wanted someone to care. Shoyuta didn't remember that day very well. It was before he sobered up, before he stopped drinking for good. All he knew was that he regretted it horribly now that he understood what really happened. He started to cry when the dreamscape froze. Hisashi hugs him and rubs his back. "It's over, babe. It's over. We'll get through this as a family." Hisashi remembers that day very well. He'll probably never forget it. Yes, Shoyuta was drunk, but he has stopped drinking for good since that day. He remembers walking out the front door and seeing a bush run out the large gate they have. He also remembers driving down the street in the truck and passing by Izuku, tears flooding his face, watching him shift into a snake and disappearing into the grass. They all wish that day could disappear. "Faith, is there any possible way to delete a memory?" Hisashi asks Okawo. "Yes, there is." He may seem disoriented if anything related to it is brought up, however. "Okay, that'll work." She mumbles something in Norse, and the memory literally disintegrates. "Hey, doesn't your soul get worn out or whatever?" Nemuri asks between sniffles. "Not when I'm inside his mind. Only when I'm using his physical form." "Naomasa, you're up." Izuku is walking in what seems to be an alleyway in Nizudafu. He reaches a reinforced door and knocks twice. A tiny sliding window opens, name and business. A male voice replies gruffly. "Kuzu Kibitsa. I have a meeting with Shigi and Big Man." Who the hell is Big Man and why the fake name? The onlookers all think. The door opens and Izuku walks in. Izuku. He's instantly tackled into a hug by a blonde girl they recognize as Toga. Izuku delivers a powerful kick, sending her flying. "It's Kuzu, you runt." He growls harshly. "Ah, Kuzu. Haven't seen you in a while." Shigi is waiting. Dabi greets him with a bro hug. They walk behind the bar and into a portal where they see a man in a mask sitting behind a desk. "Hello, young Kuzu," the man greets. "Now that we're all here, please take a seat." As Izuku sits down, the blue-haired man speaks up. "Sensei, why must he be here? It's an extreme risk. He is the Crimson Reaper. He'll take us all out before we can blink. I am literally sitting right here." Izuku glares at the man. "Shigaraki, please calm down. He is here to make a truce," the suited man replies calmly. "Yes, Shiggy. I'm here to talk true stuff." The greenette smirks and leans back in the chair. "Yo, all for one. Let me choose 2 partners." Izuku holds up 2 fingers. "And I won't take down your entire league, or whatever you call it." All for one coughs. "Okay, fine. Leave with 2 people and only return if you are in need. Not to hang out." Izuku replies with a psychotic smile. "Thanks, I owe ya." "Not really, but thanks anyway." He returns to the bar after listening to Shigaraki throw a fit. "Anyone here? Line up, I'm taking 2 with me." Izuku yells throughout the bar and rooms. Toga, Dabi, a lizard man, a man in a black and white bodysuit, and a man-woman with huge lips come out of the rooms. "Jesus, it's 2 a.m. What is so important?" the lizard man asks, clearly annoyed. "Very few people know who the Crimson Reaper is, only a handful." Izuku w's his head in the lizard's direction. "Care to repeat that, Spinner?" If looks could kill, Izuku would be 6 feet under. "Yeah. Why the heck is a little punk like you waking us up at 2 a.m.? Without a good excuse, I'll make sure to take you down." In less than a second, Izuku was behind Spinner with a sickle in each hand, one at the lizard's throat and the other in between his ribs. "Hey, who the hell do you think you are, barging in here, waking everyone up, and then trying to attack Spinner?" the man-woman exclaims. Izuku chuckles lowly. "You all heard my name when I entered. I am Kuzu. However, you know me better as the Crimson Reaper." He digs his sickle into Spinner's torso, then slices the man-woman's arm open. "I warned you. Back to business. I'm here for 2 associates in exchange for all of your lives. Any takers?" Toga instantly flies forward. "I get to be with Izuku-kun," she shrieks excitedly. "Call me that one more time and you won't live to say another word." That shuts Toga up quickly. "Anyone else? I'll choose someone at random otherwise." Izuku offers again. He was still annoyed that Shiggy and Kurogiri were off-limits. Izuku really wanted to revert Kurogiri back to his human self. While Izuku was lost in thought, Dabi walked up and hugged Izuku. "Come on, Zook." "Oh, Dabi. Hi. Are you the second?" Dabi nods curtly. "Cool. Bye, amigos. So, what do I call you since I actually value my life?" Toga strikes up a conversation on the silent walk. "Call me Kuzu or Zook. If we're in private or on a mission, you can call me Si. Now hurry up. I need to test your skills." The memory shifts to the park where the heroes had caught them later on. Dabi had already incinerated half of the playground in seconds. "I have some ideas for your control," Izuku offers, and Dabi nods in reply. Toga had already, accidentally, caused chaos. "Toga, I said no more. Sorry. I got carried away. But look at all this new blood I found," she shrieks. "Toga, it is 2 a.m. We don't need to be caught. Now be quiet. You guys can stay in the bunkhouse my family owns. Here's $200 each. Don't get caught or I will be in serious trouble," Izuku says seriously before leaving in the blink of an eye. Okawa freezes the dreamscape once more. "I failed to mention that I can sense any mental issues Izuku has since I am my own person but still inside his head. I believe he is suffering from some sort of psychosis and/or bipolar disorder. That is why he has the sudden mood and personality changes." The 4 heroes looked utterly confused at the memory. All Might breaks the silence. "So that last one. He knows AFO, and AFO fears him." "That is correct, Yagi-kun." All Might is baffled that she said "kun." "Why do you call me Yagi-kun? I am certainly no youngster. You are no older than 17. Okawa laughs lightly. "Yagi-kun, I am nearly 50 years older than you." I was part of the first 20% of quirked people. Ah, I see. My apologies, Okawa-san. It is quite alright. Are you all ready for this final memory? It is quite disturbing. Namuri, Hisashi, All Might, Naomasa, and Shoyuta all nod their heads quietly. Izuku had just come home from school and was setting his bag down on his bed when he was stabbed in the shoulder by a small paring knife. He knew better than to make a sound. Welcome home, Izuku. His mother spat at him. How did you do on your test today? She held her hand out expectantly. The greenette grabbed a paper from his backpack and handed it to his mother, shaking in fear and pain. Is this a joke? His mother asked in a dark voice. This is a 74. A 74. I thought I taught you to do better, you ungrateful child. And no, Mama, please no. I swear I'll do better. Izuku begged as his mother dragged him by his hair into the basement. We'll see about that. Have fun down there. Do some studying while you're there. She threw him down the stairs into the dark basement alone with his backpack. 3 days passed, and the basement was finally unlocked. Izuku came out, unsteady due to the lack of food and water. His mother wasn't home, he noticed. The first thing he did was chug several glasses of water and eat a small plate of grilled fish. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if I let them in. Let them ruin what little life I have left. The onlookers understood he was talking about the voices in his head. Izuku trudged upstairs and threw a neatly folded outfit into a drawstring bag, along with 2 sickles and several pocket knives. He went to the bathroom and turned the shower on, letting it heat up. When his shirt and sweats were off, the adults saw the scars and burn marks littering his body. Izuku got in the shower and started crying uncontrollably. Please just make it stop. Please go away. No, why would I? Please leave me alone. Just for the day. I'll be back. His voice changed in pitch as he fought with the voice in his head. Izuku grabbed the razor on the shower shelf and stared at it for a second before using it to make small cuts on his arm. I'm going to be late. To my own party. He got out of the shower, threw on a hoodie vest and gray joggers, and grabbed his bag before jumping out his window. While running down the street, Izuku shifted into a cougar and took a shortcut through the woods. Soon he arrived at the familiar park, where Dabi, Toga, and Jiro were waiting. Happy birthday, Zook! They shouted together. Izuku gave a soft smile. Thanks, guys. She did it again, didn't she? Dabi asked, sounding furious. Izuku nodded. Don't worry though. It'll all be over soon. He threw on a fake smile and put on Beach Better Have My Money by Biometrics and Lou. Fitting song for who we are, Jiro said between breaths while Toga laughed uncontrollably. Exactly. Now, what did my little death cult get me on this lovely day? He started to laugh along with everyone else. Ooh. Zook, open mine first. Toga pushed 2 sleek-looking boxes into Izuku's arms. He opened them and saw 2 red and black knife sets. Oh my god, thank you, Toga! He exclaimed before hugging her. Dabi and Jiro brought Izuku a fairly large box and a couple of bags. Bags first, Jiro stated. Izuku opened the bags and pulled out 3 sets of a black suit vest, blood-red Oxford shirt, and nice black jeans. He gave them a wicked smile. Thanks, guys. Now our idea can come to life. I am now officially the Crimson Reaper. And that makes you officially the Fates. Now we are officially. Izuku inhaled deeply, the Crimson Reaper and the Fates. They all cheered and laughed before Jiro practically threw the larger box at Izuku. Open it, amigo. He tore it open and saw the newest model of an American military sniper, the U.S. SOCOM Precision Sniper Rifle. How'd you guys find this? We have our sources, Dabi deadpanned. Fine then, keep your secrets. Izuku took it out, calibrated the scope, and loaded a couple of rounds into it. Who's down to go hunting? 10 minutes later, they were on a rooftop in the middle of Mizudafu City near the LOV base. Hey, Crimson. Spinner is coming out with Shiggy for a smoke. Wanna hit one? Jiro said through the comms. Coming. Izuku set up the sniper and took his position, aiming for Spinner's leg. That wannabe Ninja Turtle ain't never gonna mess with me again. With that said, he shot at Spinner's leg but missed and shot his elbow instead. Guys, let's go. I need to do more calibrating on the scope. They quickly jumped off the rooftop, leaving Spinner's screams behind. Later that night, Toga encountered a man on a roof. He had long black hair, a black bodysuit, a gray belt, and a gray scarf, standing dangerously close to the edge. The group may have been violent, but they were vigilantes, not villains. Hey mister, you okay? Toga asked softly. You're really close to the edge. The man turned to her and grabbed her with his scarf. I'm a hero. Why are you out so late, kid? Because I'm with some friends. Just watch your step, Mr. Hero. What's your name? Eraserhead. Tell your friends to either get you and leave, or come out here and explain why you're on a rooftop at 1 a.m. Toga froze. God damn it, Toga. This is exactly why we don't leave you unattended. Izuku threw a knife attached to a retractable string into Shuta's calf. Payback's a lesson, Shoyuta. A stab in the leg for a stab in the back. Fitting enough. Now I bid you adieu. Wicked. What's your name? Shoyuta asked, gritting his teeth. Oh, you mean us? Izuku spread his arms as Jiro and Dabi joined him. Shoyuta, my friend. I am the Crimson Reaper and these are the fates. The memory abruptly ended with that phrase. Okawa looked around. Nemuri was shaking with an unknown emotion in her eyes, tears streaming down her face. She let out a choked sob as the memory concluded. Hisashi had fainted when Spinner got shot, so Okawa sent him back. All Might grimaced, reflecting on how he could have saved the boy so many times yet felt he had failed. Naomasa was in a corner, visibly distressed. Shoyuta was on the ground, hyperventilating, shaking, and crying uncontrollably. Throughout the memories, Okawa had made it so they could see the world through Izuku's eyes and feel all the emotions he experienced. Many thoughts raced through everyone's minds, but one stood out. How could that kid smile despite all he had felt and been through? He smiled through the pain. Okawa was a girl who had sacrificed herself with her own quirk to prevent All for One from taking it. She saved millions of lives. When she died, she left a piece of her soul behind with the quirk. After about 100 years, she found Izuku in a coma, gave him the quirk, and merged her soul with his mind to help him control it. When he woke up, Okawa could temporarily take control of his body using his stamina. The more energetic he was, the longer she could take over. However, Izuku had to allow her to take control first. Dr. Himoya, her father, had a quirk called Age Gap, which prevented him from aging for extended periods. When he emerged from the operating room where Izuku was, he appeared to be about 70, though he was actually nearing it would be revealed later that he was the first quirked person to exist, though his quirk came from experimentation. In the next chapter, Okawa would reveal her true form, the form she died in, and her soul form. She was stuck with that outfit, unable to change it in death, though her wounds were healed. Okawa wielded 3 swords, each with a different purpose, one for taking life, one for giving life, and one for healing and rewinding injuries. Okawa sent the remaining heroes out of the dream space, allowing them to wake up. Chio and Shinso had somewhat recovered from their harrowing experience while waiting for the others. Izuku's body was transforming with every injury he sustained. They realized that the memory they had experienced lasted only 5 minutes in the real world. About 30 minutes later, Hisashi began to stir. His eyes opened, and he stared at Izuku in horror. Realizing he was back in the real world, he rushed to the nearest trash can to empty his stomach. Pops? You okay? Shinso asked quietly. Promise me, if you ever go into his memories again and get bad vibes, leave. Opt-out. I don't know how he manages to smile after all of that. Hisashi was interrupted as Shoyuta pushed him aside, rushing to the bathroom. The once quiet house was now filled with the sounds of vomiting and sobbing. Nemuri cradled Izuku in her arms while All Might knelt by her side, rubbing her back reassuringly. That kid needs us. Now more than ever, I believe, Shoyuta whispered. All Might nodded, and Nemuri sobbed louder. He is too young for this. Chio, call Nizu. I believe he can help clear Izuku's record of all charges. He doesn't deserve this at such a young age, Hisashi mutters. Okay. Chio heads upstairs to call Nizu. Hello Nizu, it's Chio. Yes, I'm okay. However, thank you. I am at Shoyuta and Mick's house at the moment. Could you please come over? Yes, I know it's quite late. It's best for you to see for yourself. Okay, see you soon. Chio returns downstairs and informs the others that Nizu is on his way. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, there's a knock at the door. Nemuri, who has calmed down considerably but still looks unwell, gets off the chair and opens the door. Hello Nizu. The rat bear walks inside, shock evident on his usually neutral face. How can I be of service so late at night, Sho? Shut up and follow me, Shoyuta snaps at the bewildered Nizu. The rat bear looks at Shoyuta in confusion. When the three adults return to the living room, Izuku has woken up and is backed into a corner, not letting anyone near him. Why am I here? What's going on? Who are you guys? They exchange worried glances. Izuku, what is the last thing you remember? Chio asks softly, slowly approaching the frightened boy. I was in an alley, and some man came up to me. He was saying that a pretty boy like me shouldn't be alone at night, Izuku stutters quickly. Hisashi and Shoyuta exchange glances, recalling their first encounter with the boy. However, when he mentioned pretty boy, all the adults looked horrified. Izuku seems to start talking to himself. Okawo? Yes, wait, no. Fine. Everyone who knew about Okawo understood what was happening and relaxed a bit. Nizu, however, was still confused. Can someone please explain what's going on? Yes, sorry. Nemesa, please join me, All Might says as Izuku falls to the ground, clutching his head. The detective gets up and follows them to Shuta's office. Please sit. It will be quite confusing, Naomasa says, dragging a trash can with him. Sorry, I don't feel well enough yet, he replies to the strange look Nizu gives him. All Might begins to explain everything he knows about Izuku and the story behind the boy, including vitality. By the time All Might finishes, Naomasa is visibly shaken by the memories of Izuku's past. Nizu looks horrified and is clearly upset. There's a soft knock at the door, and Nemuri enters. He's awake and remembers everything this time. She leaves as quickly as she came. Well, let's go meet the Crimson Reaper, Nizu says as he heads out the door. Izuku is sitting on the couch with a tear-stained face. Hisashi and Shoyuta are on either side, hugging him. Hello, Izuku. I am Nizu, the principal of UA. Hi. Ready to take me in? Izuku holds out his wrists as if expecting to be cuffed. No. I have an offer to make you. Classes at UA have already started for the year, but I think you would make an excellent addition to the hero course. I deeply wish to give you the chance that you never had, Nizu replies enthusiastically. He wants to give me the chance I never had? Izuku realizes how much he needed to hear that. But what about my quirks? Vitality still works when I wear glasses. I would need a special quirk nullifying visor for. He cuts off as his eyes shift to a galaxy color. Nizu is visibly shocked. Hello. I am Okawo. Izuku can hear everything I'm saying, so let's make this quick. Stay until he wakes up again, and he will have enough energy to let me out. You'll understand if you stay, but I must go before he passes out with me in control. I advise putting a cloth over his eyes, Okawo states before quickly retreating, leaving Izuku to flop over. The next afternoon. Everyone is awake by 2:00 p.m., with Izuku being the last to wake. Izuku, are you sure you can do this? Shoyuta asks, his voice laced with concern. Yes, Shoyuta, I'll be fine. Probably. Okay, everyone back up. The onlookers step back as Izuku's eyes flicker to the galaxy. He begins to chant something in a Nordic language before screaming. A white fog pours from his chest, forming into a human shape beside him. Once the fog finishes forming, Izuku stops screaming. Next to him stands an appealing young girl with long flowing white hair, pale skin, and a flowing white dress. She wears a choker and a crown-like headpiece made of 2 different shades of silver, and her eyes are a very pale purple. Hello. I am Okawo. Though I have my original physical form back now, I must follow Izuku everywhere he goes. Otherwise he'll get very sick. Now, I'm sure you all have many questions, but I need to change into a more suitable outfit quickly. Shoyuta thinks as Okawa raises her hands above her head and slowly brings them down, her outfit changing with it. Okawa's new attire resembles a hero costume, featuring a thin white sleeveless top with a high neck that reaches her knees in the front and back, cutting off at the hips on the sides. She wears white fingerless gloves that extend above her elbows. For breathes, she didn't have any. It was like the bottom half of a bathing suit, but you couldn't see it due to her top. Okawa's boots were white with black soles, reaching mid-thigh. On her head, she wore a crown-like headpiece made of little beads, with a pendant hanging in the front. A sheer pale purple and blue cloth hung from her hips. They watched in amazement as she moved her hands, running them up her thighs and forming an upside-down pyramid shape on her back. Suddenly, 3 long, sharp swords appeared, one on each thigh and one across her back. 3 exact replicas appeared in Izuku's hands. Now that the dramatic part is over. Izuku, she said, getting his attention. Yes, Okawa? I'd greatly appreciate it if you gave me a new name. I am now in a physical state, not a soul state. If someone recognizes my name, word will spread, and you will be in danger. Izuku looked to the adults around him, who were equally baffled. Okay. How about Kiri? That'll work. You all may leave. I'll answer your questions later. At the moment, I need to get Izuku's new look set up. A chorus of protests came from the group as they sat down on Shoyuta and Mick's back porch. Sigh, okay, fine. Izuku, are you single? The greenette looked surprised. Yes, why? Kiri ignored the question and hummed in response. Are you bi, pan, or gay? My gaydar is going off. Sorry. I am bi. So this new look also comes with a slight side effect. You are going to be incredibly confident. Don't ask. I don't understand either. Kiri stated as she began a playful dance in front of Izuku. Izuku's new look included pierced ears, black combat boots with chains, and 2 dark purple/pink crystalline horns that floated above his forehead. The several heroes watching were shocked at Izuku's transformation. He placed his swords on his thighs and across his back. Time skip. A year later, the time had finally come for Izuku to join Heroics Class 2A. It had taken nearly a year for him to get both quirks under control. He found new ways of using his Alteration quirk and could now freely control vitality. He had moved past his villainous habits and was now a vigilante until he received his provisional license. Izuku accepted Nizu's offer to join the Heroics class, set to start the next day. Nizu had given him a special pass to carry his swords, stay in his combat outfit, and allowed Kiri to accompany him. The duo was nicknamed the Hunters by the local hero community for their work in taking out small-time villains for practice. Izuku's confidence had skyrocketed. He was practically the definition of badass at this point. His swordsmanship and martial arts skills were extraordinary, making him nearly unstoppable with Kiri by his side as a mentor. He sparred with multiple heroes daily, still yet to win against All Might or Shoyuta, who consistently outperformed him. Okay, kid. You got everything you need for tomorrow? Your pass, keycard, swords, all that jazz? Shoyuta asked, going over the checklist. Yes, sir, Izuku replied with an excited smile. Shoyuta thought to himself, wait, is this pride? Izuku slid down the stair railing. Sup, older bro? Shinso greeted him with a soft smile. Hey, sure. You haven't told anyone about tomorrow, right? I can't wait to see Katsuki's face. Izuku doubled over with laughter. Jesus, you're excited. No, I haven't told anyone. Although I feel like Shoto misses you, Shinso said with a small smirk. Izuku had met Shoto while on patrol 6 months ago, and saved him from a villain. After the fight, Shoto had given Izuku his number, and they had been talking daily since. A month later, they started dating. Of course he does. What's not to miss? Izuku smirked, winking as he headed to the kitchen, leaving a flustered Shinso behind. He decided to call his boyfriend. S is Shoto and I is Izuku. Hey, I've missed you. Wanna hang out tonight? I can't tonight sadly, I have patrols and a few other things to tend to. I'll see you tomorrow though. Oh. Normal spot? Yes sir. That'd be correct. I also have a surprise for you when I see you tomorrow. Should I be scared? Just kidding, I love you. That sounds great. My old man wants me. I gotta go. I love you baby, see you tomorrow. I love you too babe, good luck. With that, he hung up, daydreaming about his appealing boyfriend while skiing on a lollipop. Oh, someone's horny. Shinso interrupted Izuku's thoughts with his shouting. Shut up. I am not. Your breathes say otherwise. At least I can get laid, Izuku retorted. That hurt, bro, Shinso pouted dramatically. Mike walked into the kitchen, and Izuku's face turned a violent shade of red as he made a run for his room. On his way up the stairs, he heard Mike and Shinso laughing. Izuku quickly changed into his nightwear and fell asleep, trying to forget about his excitement for the next day. Issue 10. The next day, Izuku's alarm goes off at 4:30 a.m. as usual, and he begins his hour-long workout. His routine consists of a 3-mile run, 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 leg raises, and 50 pull-ups. Afterward, he grabs a muffin and some bacon before rushing upstairs to put on his combat outfit. When he comes down with all his gear, Kiri is waiting for him along with Mike, Shinso, and Shoyuta. You ready, Izu? Kiri asks. Yes, ma'am. In public with Kiri, Izuku is all business, unless they're goofing around. Yeah. Let's go. Mike shouts enthusiastically. It's too early for this. I haven't had my coffee. Shoyuta calls from the kitchen. You know he's right. We have 30 minutes until we have to leave, Shinso chuckles. I have too much energy, I'm going for a quick run. Come on, Kiri, Izuku says, his voice light with humor. Okay, just be back in 25, Hisashi states. Don't worry, Pops. Be back soon, Izuku replies as he and Kiri head out. Kiri has become much less intense, wouldn't you say? Hisashi remarks to Shoyuta. Definitely. It's probably because she can actually talk to people now and realizes that some people can be quite annoying. Don't worry, I still love you guys, Shoyuta deadpants. Shinso and Hisashi burst into laughter. You're right about that, Shinso responds. Izuku returns right on the 25-minute mark, and everyone is coming out the door. Ready, combat boy? Shinso teases. Absolutely. I can't wait to see my babe. And oh my god, the look on Katsuki's face is going to be priceless. I can't believe he thinks I'm not actually alive. Izuku rambles. The family laughs as they load into their large truck and start the drive to school. Having teachers for parents means they have to go to school earlier than everyone else, but Izuku doesn't mind. It just means he can hit the gym before it gets crowded with first years trying to prove themselves. Izuku! Shoyuta calls, trying a calm approach before Shinso decides to shout in Izuku's ear. Jesus! What? Oh, we're here. Shoyuta and Shinso sigh while Hisashi cackles. I'm headed to the gym, sure, wanna come? Sure, I'll bring you to class too. Lucky we're in the same class, Shinso replies. The two boys leave for the gym, chatting as they go. An hour later, first years start trickling into the gym, mostly guys with a few girls. Hey, who's the guy at the weight station? One boy asks. Yo, that girl is cute, another comments. I'd date her, a third boy adds. Izuku has had enough when Kiri starts suggesting they confront the boys. Shinso left to use the bathroom a few minutes ago. Standing tall at 6 feet 2 inches, Izuku has grown significantly during the year of intense training. He approaches the group of first years and says, "Come and fight me. If you win, you can have Kiri for a week." The first-year boys leap at the challenge, and Kiri doubles over in laughter, knowing Izuku will easily win. A brave first-year steps forward. "I'll beat you, no problem." Izuku decides to humor the boy. "Okay, but no quirks. Mine can get intense." Fine, whatever. "Stupid show-off," the first-year scoffs. "Before we begin, what's your name?" "Landon Hasai." "Okay, let's fight. Everyone move to the edges. And for your sake, I'll go easy." The loser is the one who admits defeat first. Landon growls and charges. Izuku easily flips over him. "Too slow," he taunts. Landon charges again, feigning left and managing to pin Izuku to the ground. I told you I'd beat you. Now give me your girl. Oh, but you haven't beaten me yet, Izuku chuckles, bending his leg at an awkward angle and kicking Landon in the jaw. The boy goes flying. Izuku Aizawa. Aizawa calls from the door, looking less than pleased. Class started 5 minutes ago. Let's go. Izuku nearly forgets to address his parents by their last names while at school. Oi, calm down, Dad. These first years were getting cocky. Whatever, let's go. Shinso, you too. The 3 teenagers grab their things and follow Aizawa out. Aizawa enters his class with Shinso and has Izuku wait outside the door with Kiri. Hey Kiri. Izuku asks. Do I have your permission to stand up for you if someone looks at you the wrong way? I know I have a boyfriend, but you're like a little sister to me. Yeah, just don't get yourself hurt, please. Izuku hums in response, and Aizawa comes out. Let's go, you two. Okay, here comes the transfer student. Ignore the girl. She's bound to him, Aizawa explains as he beckons them in. Izuku walks in with his signature smirk, his crystalline horns glowing with excitement. He scans the class and spots his appealing boyfriend first. Speaking of which, Shoto is twitching in anticipation. Aizu had said he had a surprise, and Shoto's curiosity was thriving. When Aizawa-sensei mentioned a transfer student, the possibility of the new kid being Izuku briefly crossed his mind. When Izuku walked in with his combat partner, Kiri, behind him, Shoto jumped over everyone and tackled his boyfriend in a hug. He was glad he was a couple of inches taller than Izuku. I missed you, baby. And you look amazing in that outfit, Shoto said, not caring who heard. Izuku accepted the tackle hug and quickly kissed Shoto back. Well, now you've got me every day. Go away, lovebirds. Do that later. Introduce yourself, or I'll do it for you. Also, I'm going to sleep. Use the PRD to get to know the new kid, Aizawa warned, and the class shuddered. The highly attractive brunette smirked at the class. Hey, I'm Izuku Aizawa. I'm 16 and adopted by Goth Jesus over here. This is my baby. Izuku hugged Shoto from behind. And nobody's going to touch him. Anyway, no touching Kiri here either. I'll let her introduce herself because she'd kick my butt. Kiri started her introduction with a small bow. I am Kiri. I am 16 as well. I will not hesitate to defend Izuku if you hurt him. Also, don't try to separate us. It won't end well for you. Izuku took over. Before you ask, no, we are not all dating. You can consider her to be my bodyguard and mentor. Any questions? A tall blue-haired kid with glasses raised his hand. Why aren't you wearing the appropriate uniform? That is highly inappropriate for a hero school attendee. Also, why do you and Kiri have weapons? He shouted, chopping the air dramatically. Izuku simply flicked a copy of his pass at the wannabe hero. Any other questions? Several hands shot up in the air. Katsuki, surprisingly contained, raised his hand like a civil person. Oh hello, Katsuki, Izuku greeted with a grim smile. Izuku. I thought you were dead. Everybody said you survived your fall, but I didn't believe it. I'm sorry, Izuku, Katsuki apologized sincerely, looking like he was about to cry. Katsuki, I forgave you long ago. If not for you telling me to take that leap, I wouldn't have found my new parents. I wouldn't have found people who actually care. Kiri wouldn't have found me. I wouldn't be blessed with my new quirk. Izuku stared at Katsuki, who looked guilty. Yo, Bakug, that's not manly at all, a redhead told Katsuki. I still think you are an oversized Bomberanian. However, Izuku decided to test the waters. The only reaction Katsuki gave him was a hug. The blonde got up from his desk and hugged the brunette. The moment was interrupted when Kiri grabbed Katsuki by his hair and placed the tip of her sword to his neck. What? Katsuki was shaking, feeling incredibly frightened by the tall warrior girl by Izuku's side. Izuku chuckled, Kiri, it's okay. Without him saying that, I'd still be the weak person I was back then. The class gasped, and several more hands rose in the air while Shoto snorted with laughter. Oh, shut up, you rejected Canadian flag. Yes, standing before you is the ex-Crimson Reaper, but don't worry. I've been reformed in a sense. I don't kill for fun. I am actually interning under All Might. I just need the experience. At this point, Katsuki and Shoto were howling with laughter, and even Kiri struggled to maintain her tough exterior. Izuku chose another hand. Yes, purple grape toddler? I have a question for Kiri, the boy responded. Several of the girls gasped and a few guys froze. The boy had heard Izuku and Kiri's warning, right? Kiri stepped up after putting her sword away. Yes, child? Can I touch your sword? The room fell eerily silent. Even Aizawa, who was waking up, held his breath. He certainly didn't want to be in the middle of this. Hey babe, take me and the grape to an arena. Preferably the most durable one, Izuku ordered Shoto. Any traces of humor before were now gone. Half the class was shaking, Kiri was radiating fury, and Izuku. Well, Izuku was in a mood to fight. Follow me. Everyone followed Shoto to ground beta. Here are the rules. Quirks are allowed. I won't use my blades. If you die, that's not my problem, Aizawa said, having followed his class to ground beta and not caring if Mineta faced consequences. Okay, so long as I get to touch the pretty lady's sword, he liked his lips. What's your name? Izuku growled in a low voice. Mineta. Okay, Mineta. You have 5 minutes to set up your traps or whatever you do. After 5 minutes, you either defeat me or face the consequences. Go. The boy started running, not very quietly. After 5 minutes, Izuku entered the fighting grounds and his voice boomed, Time's up, Mineta. Hope you don't regret it. He saw a purple ball littering the ground in front of him. Is this his quirk? Izuku thought. He poked the ball, and his finger stuck to it. Oh. Okay. Izuku used his vitality quirk to rewind the ball. Ugh, little Mineta. Izuku sang loudly. He walked around a few more blocks before he saw purple hair disappear from a window. He started to whistle before stopping and entering the building where he saw the boy hiding. Hee, he'll never find me among all these buildings. Izuku heard Mineta giggling to himself. Like grape. You really ought to learn to be quiet, you know, Izuku approached him. Stay back. I'll use my special move. Mineta screeched. The greenette chuckled darkly, hit me with it, little guy. He watched as Mineta fired ball after ball from a cannon-like device on his wrist, only for them to vanish before Izuku. What is your quirk? Mineta stammered. Oh, I have several, Izuku replied, placing a single finger on Mineta's shoulder. What are you doing? Simple, I'm taking you out. I warned you to never touch or even flirt with Kiri without her permission. The price? Your life. Izuku explained as he drained Mineta's energy slowly. Soon, all that was left was a hyperactive Izuku and a pile of remnants. When he returned, the class was shocked. Back to class before you bombard me with your questions. Aizawa trudged behind the group, thinking about how he wanted a nap. Emo Jesus! Let's go! Izuku shouted from ahead. Yeah, I'm coming, Aizawa grumbled. The moment everyone was seated, hands shot up, including Shoto's. Shoto, you're first, Izuku said with a smirk. What's your B'art's quirk? Oh, screw you too, Shoto. It's called Alteration. Pinkie Pie in the middle. Mina, what does Alteration do? I can change into anything I want as long as I've seen it before. I can also change inanimate objects. Like this. Izuku walked over to Aizawa's sleeping bag and transformed it into a tree with Aizawa stuck inside. The man didn't even wake up. Next. Wannabe chappy. The poor boy looked confused. My name is Tenya Ida. Why do you carry 3 swords around? Izuku snickered. If someone asks the correct question, I can explain that. Next, Katsuki. Why did you disappear for nearly 2 years? Izuku froze for a second. Long story short, the day you told me to jump off a roof, I got attacked by slime. A hero saved me, brought me to a roof, wrecked all my dreams. I tried jumping off the roof, but Aizawa and Mike saved me. I was then in a coma for 3 months. During that time, I met Kiri and obtained a new quirk. I woke up, faced some challenges, got caught, and then reformed. Tide. Izuku somehow said that all in a single breath. Shoto and Shinso clapped while Izuku bowed. Next, off-brand Pikachu. Are you a bro or a hoe? Bro. 100% bro unless it's for Shoto. In his case, it's hoe. Everyone looked at Shoto, who blushed crimson. Octonaut. Izuku pointed at Shoji. Why do you not wear the uniform? 1. It's uncomfortable. 2. My body disintegrates any other clothing besides this and my special-made PJs. Tokoyami, was it?
Yes.
Do you have darkness surrounding your soul?
Yes.
Every good hero has their demons to overcome. Okay, last one. Spiky hair boy. The name's Kirishima, but call me Kiri. Oh, this is gonna get confusing. Continue. Explain everything involving your second quirk. Be prepared. My second quirk is powerful. The name of it is confidential. I cannot tell you why, so don't ask. I can give, take, or heal life through physical or eye contact. I can also rewind objects up to 10 hours. Like my Netta's hair things today. They vanished. Izuku took a deep breath. I obtained this quirk while in a coma. It took me over a year to master it. Kiri here gave the quirk to me. She's amazing. Anyway, when I got caught as Crimson Reaper, she sent several heroes close to me into my memories while I was passed out. One of the heroes was Emo Jesus over here. He pointed to Aizawa, who was still asleep in the tree. You can ask him about my memories, he has my permission to talk about it. However, I will not discuss it. I woke up the next afternoon, and Kiri made herself a physical body. Don't ask how, I have no clue. She is permanently in her combat attire, as am I. When she manifested, she gave me these clothes. Somehow the quirk altered my body over time, so I can't wear other clothes. She also gave me these 3 swords. Izuku picked them up and handed them to the front row. Pass them around, touch them, whatever. But do not cut yourself on the blades. The black blade will drain your life like my Netta. The orange blade will erase you from existence. And the blue blade will inject someone else's life energy into you, and you will explode. I'm serious. My friends didn't believe me and now they are gone. Izuku bowed his head. R.I.P. Jiro and Toga. Dabi's still alive through some miracle of him not exploding. Back to the point, each blade has a purpose. Only Kiri and I can handle being cut by one. So yeah, there's that. Izuku smiled gently and watched Momo hand the death blade to an invisible person. Suddenly, there was a gasp. Hagakure. Izuku noticed a cut on her finger. Well, that's unfortunate. This is why we can't have nice things. The greenette collected the blades and reholstered them as Hagakure's invisibility wore off. Her choked screams woke up Aizawa, who was still stuck in the tree. Izuku Aizawa. Sorry, I used you as an example for alteration. I'll bring you to Power Loader in a minute. Gotta watch Hagakure here. After a few more minutes, Hagakure's weakened body lay on the floor. Izuku, you are truly a horrible person. Momo shouted. Kiri, Shoto, Katsuki, Izuku, and Shinso all turned and glared at Momo. Pray tell, how am I the horrible person here? I warned you about the consequences of cutting yourself on the blade, did I not? Yes, but nothing. My entire life I've been put down by people. What do you want? A trophy that says I called a depressed, overpowered teenager horrible? Is that what you want? I've been called villainous, a monster, horrible. So go ahead. Jeer at me. You're not the one who lives with the weight of losing your only friends. You're just another person who doesn't bother to understand what someone else is feeling. Have you ever been hurt outside of hero work or training? Have you ever faced real pain? Tell me, Yamamo. Have you? Izuku had tears streaming down his face, his emotions boiling over. Aizawa, who had somehow gotten free from the tree, tried to wrap the boy in his scarf, but Izuku pushed him away. His eyes were fierce, filled with a galaxy of emotions. A small crowd of students gathered outside the open door, and several teachers, including Midnight, Snipe, and All Might, entered the room. Young Izuku, stop this behavior. If IT isn't the one and only All Might, how are you doing? Still happy with yourself for making a kid feel this way? Now. Good to know. Shinso stood up and walked over to the teachers, glaring at Momo. Good job, you just erased a year's worth of progress. His quirk is overpowering him again. Auntie Namuri, Shoto, Cat, and I will hold him down. You knock him out. Midnight nodded curtly. Shoto, Bomberanian. Shinso nodded as they tackled Izuku. Katsuki got behind him, locking his arms and legs in place. Shoto covered his eyes with the special visor from Izuku's pocket. Shinso used his quirk to make Izuku freeze. However, Izuku was nearly stronger than Shinso's quirk, and it took a lot of concentration. Nem. Hurry up. Within seconds, the 4 students in front of the class were asleep. Aizawa staggered over to Izuku, who had thrown him into a wall. How long are they out for? 30 minutes. Good. Now, Yamamo. Why did you think triggering him like that was a good idea? He killed Hagakure. No. Hagakure hurt herself after hearing his warnings about the blades. It's too early to deal with this. Go to Nisa's office and transfer out of my class. Now. Yamamo quickly gathered her things and left the classroom, pushing past the crowd in the hall. Aizawa-sensei? Aja asked. What is it? You said it's too early. Sensei, it is nearly 2 p.m. Exactly. Too early. You're all released for the day. Leave. Kiri, who had been affected by Izuku's outburst, started to wake up. I'm so sorry, she repeated to Izuku. Izuku woke up last, and all the heroes were on guard. He looked around the room at the concerned faces. Izuku. Mike, who had come in after class was dismissed, asked softly. I hurt someone, didn't I? I did it again. Izuku sounded broken. He walked over to the window and looked out at the forest below. I'm so sorry. He sobbed as he quickly unlocked the window and started to climb down the side of the building. Izuku, come back here. Aizawa wrapped the teen in his scarf. I'm so sorry for what I did. I really am a monster. They were right all along. Aizu, you are anything but a monster. Yamamo shouldn't have said those things. You went into your fail-safe mode. It's okay. We're going to get you some help, all right? Shoto ran up to Izuku and cradled him. The greenette looked into Shoto's heterochromatic eyes and said, Shoto Todoroki. I love you. Hey Izuku. Hey. Sorry, but I really dislike doing the dishes, bro. That's okay. Now, go dunk yourself in the water, Shinso says, using his quirk. Izuku mindlessly follows the order and faceplants into the shallow waters. Shinso releases his quirk while howling with laughter. The greenette walks by, grumbling, Seriously, you're the worst. Says the one who ran me over, Shinso retorts. They walk home, laughing and playfully pushing each other around. When they finally arrive at their massive house, they walk through the little gate next to the driveway. It's nearly 11 p.m., and yet their dad's bedroom light is still on. Yo, Aizu, didn't they have patrol tonight? Yeah, I thought so too. The brothers prepare for a confrontation as they enter the house. The only fight they be having that night is the fight to bleach their brains. As Shinso and Izuku walk quietly up the stairs, they hear thumping from their parents' room. Izuku transforms his arms into lion arms with claws extended, while Shinso readies his capture weapon. The two boys crack their parents' door open just enough to see inside. They instantly regret it. Shoyuda. They hear Hisashi Izuku feels nauseous and quickly runs down the stairs with Shinso following closely. While Izuku empties his stomach, Shinso keeps his fluffy green hair out of his face. All better. No. We're grabbing the tent and staying in the backyard. Let's go, Izuku demands as the loud noises continue from upstairs. Did they forget they have kids? Izuku thinks. Yo, chia plant. I got the tent. I also grabbed sleeping bags. You got the food, blankets, and pillows? Shinso asks as he returns to the kitchen. Izuku nods quickly. I also got the laptop for movies. Let's hurry up. He groans as he runs into the backyard. 30 minutes later, the brothers have all their belongings set up. Shinso, I can literally see their window vibrating with the noise, Izuku sighs disappointedly. The purple-haired boy just laughs and says, yeah. Well, let's just try to hunker down and watch this. Shinso holds up the movie. It's The Maze Runner. The next morning, Shoyuta and Hisashi come downstairs, both wearing only sweatpants that hang loosely at their waists. Shoyuta is waddling slightly. "Hey babe, can you wake up the kids?" Shoyuta asks with a lighter tone than usual. Hisashi smirks. "Yeah, I'll get them." Before he leaves the kitchen, Hisashi hugs Shoyuta from behind. "I said you were a bottom when we met. Believe me yet?" He leaves a flustered Shoyuta in the kitchen to make breakfast. Meanwhile, in the backyard, Izuku and Shinso have just fallen asleep, after finishing Shuta's coffee stash as revenge for the previous night. It's 7:30 a.m. Hisashi goes upstairs and checks his purple-haired son's room first. Maybe he's in with Izuku tonight. He then checks Izuku's room. Also empty. Hisashi starts to panic. They might be in the gym since their beds are made. He checks the gym, the offices, and the living room, but they're all empty. Deciding to find Shoyuta, he heads back downstairs. "Hey, a peeling hunk of gorgeousness that I love so much." Hisashi greets Shoyuta, who instantly knows something's up. "What's wrong?" he deadpans. "Well, fine. If you want to be like that," Hisashi replies. "Get to the point." "Ugh, well, while I was looking for the kids, I checked the gym, the living room, and the offices." "Get on with it." Shoyuta grinds out. "The kids are missing." "What? Why wouldn't you start with that?" Shoyuta shouts. Hisashi smiles sheepishly. "You know I'm not great at this kind of thing." "That doesn't matter. Have you checked Find My iPhone?" Shoyuta asks. "Oh, no, I haven't. Might help." Shoyuta sighs and checks. 45 seconds later, Hisashi is holding his head. "What do you hit me for?" he whines. "It says they are in the backyard, you overgrown cockatoo." Hey, oops. The two heroes make their way outside and see the tent set up with music coming from it. They walk up and open the door flap, looking in on their two children sleeping as if they just came home from a party. Being a fairly large tent, Shoyuta and Hisashi can enter without disturbing the boys, until Shoyuta spots coffee grinds and two half-filled coffee mugs. He's furious. His daily heaven has been stolen. Needless to say, Izuku wakes up to a surprise. Izuku screams, "Shinso, I have an elephant on top of me." Hisashi is laughing while Shinso gets an ice bucket dumped on him. Shinso yells, "We give you 2 privacy for the night and this is what we get in return?" Hisashi gasps, and Shoyuta turns an unhealthy shade of red. Shoyuta stands up and not so discreetly flips off Shinso. "Get up, breakfast is ready." "You're not mad about your coffee?" Izuku asks hesitantly. Shoyuta turns around and gives them a glare that sends shivers down their spines. "Meet me at Dagoba Beach. 3 m." Before walking away, he adds, "Also, I expect my entire coffee stock to be refilled by midnight. But first, come on, let's eat breakfast. We will all be sad together." It's now 4 p.m., and the brothers have long forgotten about the expensive coffee refill they need to do. The clock hits 11 o'clock p.m. Shoyuta comes waltzing into Izuku's room where the two are lounging. "I assume my coffee has been refilled? Don't mind if I go check." The Erasure hero had never seen two teenagers move so fast in his entire life. 1 second their wallets were sitting on the dresser and their shoes were by the bedroom door. The next second, the wallet and shoes are gone along with the boys. Shoyuta chuckles and heads to his bedroom, doubting that the boys will be back within the hour. Meanwhile, Izuku and Shinso are racing down the street. Izuku had transformed their clothes into falcon-like suits, allowing them to arrive at the store in just 5 minutes. "Sure, give me your wallet. I'll go get Shuta's coffee and be right back. It takes a lot of energy for me to turn your clothes into a suit, so I can only do it once in a while." Shinso sighs and hands over his wallet. Izuku rushes into the store and buys their entire stock of Shuta's favorite coffee. When he checks out, he nearly faints. He had just spent nearly $1,000 on coffee, $500 from him and $500 from Shinso. Each box was £2 and only $5, but it added up quickly. Izuku transforms into a shopping cart, using the last of his energy to turn Shinso's clothing into a horse. "Put the coffee in here and grab the cart and run." Izuku wheezes, his energy dangerously low. Shinso, now shirtless with his shirt transformed into a horse, hangs on while steering the cart filled with coffee. Izuku, you owe me if I survive this, he screams, muscles straining as Izuku's transformation begins to revert. They make it back to the house with 34 minutes to spare. Izuku, we are technically home, so you can shift back. However, Izuku has passed out mid-transformation, turning into various objects he had seen throughout the day. This rapid transformation wears him out, leaving him unable to move the next day. Shinso panics. I can't leave him just in case something happens. He decides to call their dad. Hey kiddo, what's up? Got the coffee? Yeah, but Izuku overused his quirk. We're just inside the iron gates. I'm coming, just hang tight. Shinso looks back at Izuku and swears he saw him transform into a lifeless form several times. Soon enough, Hisashi arrives, hardly out of breath. Did he just turn into a dead body? You saw it too? Shinso replies. Okay, so what the heck happened? He's been watching The Walking Dead, Shoyuta interrupts. Why are you home so early, Dad? Shinso asks. I got an alert from Izuku's fitness watch saying his heart rate was too high. What did he do? Shinso hesitates before admitting that Izuku went overboard with his quirk. Their dad sighs heavily. Training is saved until Friday when he can actually move again. I see you got the coffee. I found out because nearly $1,000 is missing from our account. Your fault, Shinso mumbles. I'm sorry, what was that? Shoyuta raises an eyebrow. I said, we drank all your coffee because we could literally see the window vibrating, he whispers. Shoyuta turns an unhealthy shade of red while Hisashi laughs. A familiar scarf wraps around Shinso, dragging him inside as Izuku's transformations calm down. Hisashi lays next to the transforming boy on the grass and falls asleep. Around 9 a.m., Izuku wakes up, his entire body in pain. He sees familiar blonde hair in the grass next to him and tries to puff out a loud breath to wake Hisashi. When Hisashi finally stirs, it's 9, he sees Izuku looking exhausted and unable to move. Hey lil listener. How are you feeling? Izuku blinks at him, clearly frustrated. Hisashi chuckles and picks him up, noting that Izuku looks like he got hit by a train. When they enter the house, Shoyuta and Shinso are on the couch eating chocolate chip pancakes. Oh come on. That's just not fair, especially to the paralyzed boy here. Shinso rushes over to Izuku. Pops, is he okay? Hisashi lightly laughs and sets Izuku down. He'll be okay by tonight. Izuku is propped up facing the TV when Shoyuta apologizes. I'm sorry, Izu. Next time, don't touch the coffee. With that, he stands up and puts on the Aristocats. I'm about to lose my patience. If you don't leave me alone, you're going to have to send me home. Izuku is mentally repeating this as he realizes he can move his arms and legs a little. He attempts to get off the couch but forgets that it's 3 feet off the ground due to everyone in the house being tall. In the kitchen, Shinso, Hisashi, and Shoyuta are busy preparing katsudon and a couple of pork cutlet bowls for dinner. Hey Dad, can you hand me the veggies? Shinso asks. Yep, here you go. Thump. Shoyuta tenses up and nearly drops the veggies, but Shinso catches them. I'm going to check on Izuku, Hisashi says as he leaves the hot kitchen. From the living room they hear, Izuku. They walk in to find Izuku face down on the ground, with Hisashi struggling to lift him back onto the couch. He's heavy. I know he's our son, but come on. Izuku, who can somewhat move his face, scowls. I can hear you, Dad. Sirs. By the end of the night, Izuku can walk fairly normally, though he still has a bit of a stutter. Don't worry, we're going to make chocolate chip pancakes again in the morning, Shoyuta reassures him. You better, or I'll make your favorite breakfast and eat it in front of you while drinking coffee. Izuku smirks at his dad's horrified expression. A month later, Momo finally returns to UA after taking a week of personal leave and then being suspended for 3 weeks. During her time away, she reflected on her actions and decided to apologize to Izuku. As she walks down the hallway to Class 1A, she spots his familiar green hair. Izuku, she calls out, and he turns around, eyes widening in recognition. Hey, glad to see you back. he replies in his usual calm tone, though Momo senses an underlying tension. I just wanted to apologize. I'm really sorry for what I said that day. She kneels in front of him, bowing her head. Please forgive me for all the harsh things I said. Izuku kneels down as well, leaning on one knee. I've been trying to find forgiveness in my heart for you, Momo. However, before I accept, I need you to understand that everything I say is sincere. I rarely joke due to my past and training. If you want my forgiveness, I want you to walk in my memories for just an hour. Kiri can guide you, and you can choose any memories you want. He helps her up. I will do it. Where do we go for this? Momo asks. Support room. I've already sent a message to my dad saying we'd miss first PRD and probably second PRD too. Izuku turns and walks toward the support room. Momo is taken aback. What did he mean by probably second PRD? She hurries after him. Hey Kiri, you ready? Izuku asks the warrior girl, who nods in response. As he lays down on the couch, Kiri directs Momo to set everything except her clothing down to avoid it getting stuck in the dream space. Kiri then has Momo put her head on Izuku's forehead, just below his hairline. Okay, ready you two? They both agree, and Momo's body falls to the floor as Izuku passes out as well. In the dream space, Momo looks around. It's all white and gray until Kiri appears in front of her. Are you sure you're ready for this? Kiri asks. Yes, please hurry. He said I could choose specific memories. Yes, you can. I'll let you choose one memory per year going back 5 years. A holographic wall appears in front of Momo, and she selects a memory before repeating the process 4 more times. Kiri looks worried. Is everything all right? Momo asks. Yes. Each memory will be choppy due to the time constraints and the memories you chose. Momo nods, and a scene unfolds before her. She sees Izuku shouting at a girl with near black hair and earphone jacks for earlobes. The girl looks furious and starts shouting back. Kiri, why can't I hear it? Momo asks. Kiri hesitates before answering, Are you sure? Yes, why wouldn't I be? Momo retorts. Kiri sighs and waves her hand. Momo wouldn't understand until she woke up why the volume was muted. Not me. I had nothing to do with it, a younger Izuku screams. Me? Bullshit. It was you who decided to trust him, the girl screams back. In an instant, Izuku is holding a weapon to her head. It was a trap. And you thought it would be a good idea to go and get info. His tone is hauntingly cold. If you want to get our friend killed, do it without me next time. He puts the weapon away and leaves. The dream space shifts to a slightly older Izuku. Hey, I need some of that good stuff before I go back home, Izuku says with a hint of desperation. A man with pale blue hair stands up from the bar stool. Kuzu, why? Why what? Izuku snaps back. Why don't you just end it already? All she does is torture you. Izuku's face shows pain for a moment, quickly replaced with anger. Stay out of my life, he screams, snatching a bottle of pills from the counter. The scene shifts to his home. Izuku tries to enter unnoticed but fails. A woman who looks strikingly like him walks out from the kitchen. Oh Izuku, how was your day today? She asks sweetly. He grimaces. Stop pretending and leading me on for once. Izuku screams. The woman's smile vanishes, replaced by a sinister look. Fine then. She lifts her hand, and a knife swiftly stabs him in the thigh, narrowly missing an artery. He knows better than to make a sound. Don't scream, don't cry, he tells himself. Momo can feel the emotional pain and anxiety flowing through him. The dreamscape shifts to a classroom where a younger Bakugo throws Izuku's book out the window. Why don't you just jump off a roof and hope for a better quirk in your next life? Bakugo taunts. The onlooker gasps, realizing Bakugo's cruelty is worse than she thought. The scene changes again to a rooftop where All Might tells Izuku that his quirk has better use as a villain. Later, Izuku is writing a note, contemplating his next move. He walks to the edge, talking to himself before transforming into a bird and flying into the air. Momo sees Aizawa-sensei and Yamada-sensei rushing to the building. Catch him before he does it, Yamada shouts, but it's too late. Izuku falls from a great height, and Momo watches as his body bounces off an invisible force. All Might is thrown into a building, and Izuku is rushed to the hospital. Aizawa-sensei panics, and Kiri appears for the first time. Izuku wakes up, ready for his final mission as the Crimson Reaper. The dreamscape shifts to a scene where All Might, Izuku, Kiri, Shinso, Aizawa-sensei, Yamada-sensei, Midnight, Recovery Girl, and Nizu are gathered around a table, laughing and playing a board game. Nizu wins, and they all enjoy the moment together. The next day, Izuku receives a text early in the morning. "What do you want?" he asks before checking his phone. His face pales, and he wakes Kiri. "We need to go. Suit up." Izuku throws on his combat clothing and grabs his swords. "Aizu, what's going on?" "You're worrying me," Kiri states quietly. "We have someone to confront," Izuku replies as they sneak out of the house. Unbeknownst to them, a certain black-haired coffee addict is also awake. Izuku glides down the street on his scythe, Kiri keeping pace effortlessly. "This is about your mother, isn't it?" Kiri questions. Izuku nods, leaning forward to speed up. They arrive at his old house, the House of Nightmares. The door is slightly open, and there's shuffling inside. Both Izuku and Kiri draw their swords, creeping forward. Izuku's impatience takes over, and he slams the door off its hinges. In the living room stands Izuku Midoriya. "Kiri, hide and wait for my signal," he whispers. She nods and disappears. "Well, if it isn't Izuku Midoriya," Izuku says coldly. The green-haired woman turns in shock. "My boy, Izuku, you've grown so much. Come give mommy a hug," she says, arms outstretched. Izuku glares at her. "You're anything but a mother. You're a coward. A fraud. A fake." "What kind of mother tortures her son for years?" he seethes. Izuku stares with crocodile tears. "I did it out of love. I wanted you to stand up for yourself." Izuku moves behind her, placing his blade at her throat. "You did not make me this way. You turned me into the Crimson Reaper. The people who saved me made me strong. It's people like you who are ruining this world. Who would harm innocent children and torture them. I am tired of your games, mother. You either agree to fix your actions, or I will make you pay. And trust me, you won't like it." The invisible onlooker, Momo, covered her mouth in horror. She could feel his raging emotions: anger, hatred, fear, sadness, pain, and betrayal. "Izuku, what happened to you to make you so dangerous?" Silent tears dripped down her cheeks. Aizawa crept into the room, unnoticed by Izuku and Izuku. However, Kiri spotted him from her spot in the shadows. "Show you to Aizawa. You need to leave. Now," she warned, making her presence known. Aizawa knew he couldn't win in a fight against her. "Oh ho! Izuku, when were you going to tell me you had a girlfriend? As your mother, you should share these things," Izuku taunted. "Shut it, Izuku," he replied, not noticing Izuku twitch her hand toward the kitchen, summoning an old knife from the drawers. The knife flew around the corner and into Izuku's upper thigh. "Oh, look at that. You know, Izuku, I barely feel pain anymore," Izuku stated with a smirk. "You've just earned yourself a free trip to hell. After I finish with you, that is. Kiri, keep Dad occupied for 10 minutes only." With that, Aizawa and Kiri started fighting hand-to-hand while Izuku kicked out Izuku's knees and dragged her to the kitchen. "Show you to Aizawa, I cannot let you through. This is Izuku's personal life. Please refrain from entering. You will only be SE into a world of nightmares," Kiri calmly requested while throwing him into a wall. "Kiri, you know I can't do that. I've seen some of his worst memories. That boy can't be alone any longer. Please, I know you care for him. Now let me through," he demanded, delivering an unexpected blow to Kiri's back. ACK. Blood was coughed up before Kiri slammed Aizawa to the ground. "I don't want to render you brain dead for a month. Please refrain from butting into matters where you are not needed." She was cut off by a horrid scream coming from the kitchen, followed by howling laughter. "I will only let you through if you promise not to interfere. No matter how gruesome." The black-haired male just wheezed in response due to the headlock he was in. "All right. Sorry. Come on." Kiri released her hold and walked to the kitchen with Aizawa. Inko, the woman I called Mom. Reduced to ashes by the sun she burned alive. Poetic, no? Izuku spoke while heating up the stovetop burner. Are you ready, Mommy? The way he said it sent chills down the woman's spine. He grabbed her hand and dragged her to the burner. Hand, arm or face? I'll let you choose, he said with a malicious grin. Inko didn't respond, instead shaking with fear. Oh, you don't want to be burned? No mercy for the weak. Isn't that right, Inko? He grabbed her hand and slammed it onto the white-hot burner, slowly dragging her arm across it. The sound of sizzling flesh made Izuku's mind race with flashbacks, and he felt himself losing his sanity. Please stop, Inko begged between screams of agony. I'll do anything, Izu. Izuku just laughed maniacally in response. Oh no. You gave me no mercy, so I will give you none. He noticed Aizawa and Kiri watching him, one with a horrified expression and the other with a look of approval. The tall greenette grabbed the woman on the ground by her hair and pulled her up. I hope you enjoyed your time in the land of the living, Izuku Midoriya. No offense, but this is for the years of hell you put me through. He lifted her head just above the burner and slammed it down, her face slowly charring. Momo stared at him in horror. I understand his pain and anger, but to go so far. Aizawa ran from the room and threw up harshly while Kiri watched with a slightly disturbed look before checking on Aizawa. He's having flashbacks and they are only getting stronger. The stronger they get, the more sanity he loses. We need to restrain him. Aizawa washed his face and nodded before they returned to the kitchen. Izuku was laughing hysterically, rocking back and forth while kicking Inko's body. Her face was melted and charred. Look, Kiri. I did it. She's gone. Aren't you proud? I killed Mommy. Izuku exclaimed in a childish voice. She and Aizawa shared nervous glances. Yes, Izu, you did it. Now come here and fall asleep, please. Izuku clambered over but refused to fall asleep. Kiri just whacked him on the neck and he passed out. He'll be fine. Kiri and Aizawa returned to the massive house where they had been living. They had been gone for 5 hours. It was 8 o'clock now. Hey Shuda. Where'd you go so early? I woke up, and your side of the bed was practically cold. Hisashi cut off his rambling when he noticed the gruesome smell and the look on their faces, along with an unconscious Izuku. What happened? Aizawa explained that Inko had gotten out and what transpired. Oh God. Is he okay? Hisashi questioned Kiri. He'll be fine. With that, the memory ended, and they all woke up in the support room. Izuku had tears streaming down his face, Kiri looked unnerved, and Momo appeared petrified. The greenette was the first to speak. You haven't even seen the worst of it. So don't you dare give me your pity. I don't want it or need it. I only need to get stronger. I know you don't want it, but I'll say it anyway. I'm deeply sorry, Aizawa-kun. I shouldn't have screamed at you like that. I didn't see the memory where you accidentally. Momo was abruptly cut off, pinned to the wall by her neck. Never, ever speak of that. Do you understand? Izuku growled threateningly. Momo nodded and apologized profusely. Don't worry, Yamamoto. I've forgiven you since you were able to stay inside my memories for 3 hours. He smiled sadly and turned away. Izuku froze, realizing the crowd gathered behind him. Aizawa, Hisashi, Nizu, and several other heroes were present, along with a large crowd of students. Aizawa's usual stoic expression was replaced by sheer panic. It was the beginning of the day and classes had yet to start, but students were filing in. Aizawa had given permission to Yamamoto and Izuku to skip the first hour. 15 minutes into class, Aizawa was discussing critical first aid when 2 screams pierced the silence of the halls. These weren't ordinary screams, they were filled with pure terror. He instructed the class to stay put and on guard until he returned. However, a few minutes later, the students followed him. The screams continued to echo through the halls, which were filling with heroes and students alike. Class 2A was the first to arrive at the support room. Kirishima peeked inside, paling slightly. Yo, Baku babe, it's not exactly pleasant in there. Shinso convinced Cementos to let the 3 boys through. The first thing they noticed was Aizawa and Mike standing defensively in front of a couch. Shoto was the first to see Izuku, who was practically seizing on the couch. Momo lay passed out on the floor next to him, her hands seemingly stuck to his forehead. She was pale and shaking just as badly as Izuku. Kiri stood nearby, looking unnerved. He took them into it. He did it again. Oh no. Shinso began to hyperventilate. Mike and Aizawa hugged him to calm him down. Another chilling scream escaped Momo, and she inhaled violently before continuing to shake. What did he do? What did the nerd do? Bakugo shouted. Shinso, pale, weakly pointed at the group by the couch. He took them into his memories. I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. I love him to death, but nobody can change what Momo is about to see. If Kiri lets her choose memories, I hope she chooses the better ones, but that doesn't look like the case. Shoto and Bakugo froze. Aizawa noticed their confusion. Kiri's power can put others into someone's memories. I've seen some of Izuku's memories. They're horrible. Sure, there are a few good ones, but that boy has been through too much already. A large crowd of students had gathered by the doors. Nizu had joined them, having witnessed the horrors of Izuku's mind. After a tense 20 minutes filled with screams and questions, they finally woke up. Izuku was crying heavily, Momo looked horrified, and Kiri appeared unnerved. Momo started apologizing but made the mistake of mentioning the time Izuku accidentally hurt his friends. In an instant she was pinned against the wall by her neck. Izuku threatened her before turning around to face the crowd. Aizawa broke the silence. Are you out of your mind? He looked more scared than furious. Nizu instructed Cementos to put up a giant cement wall for the time being. Bakugo and Shoto were left listening to everything unfold. Aizawa runs up to Izuku and pulls him into a hug, tears streaming down both their faces. I've had to stand here and watch you scream and seize for the last 3 hours. Never do that again. I love you too much, Izuku. Aizawa scolds him gently. The greenette sniffles. I love you too, Dad, but she needed to know. She picked out some of my worst memories. Izuku then explains everything. By the end of his explanation, Bakugo and Shoto are horrified. Why, you were the one who KK killed Aunt Inko? Bakugo stutters in shock. Izuku looks at him with a blank stare filled with underlying fury. Yes. She deserved everything she got. Shoto can somewhat relate because of his own experiences. He stands up and tackles Izuku to the floor in a hug. Please talk to me if you need to. I hate seeing you in pain, Shoto pleads. Izuku promises and kisses him softly in return. Soon enough, everyone is back in class. Momo is still lost in her thoughts, but that's just her. Izuku, Bakugo, Kiri, Shoto, Kirishima, and Shinso leave for the cafeteria early. They are called the Warpack because of their combined strength. They grab their lunch and sit at a table in the back. Yo, Katsuki, are you and Kirishima dating? Izuku wiggles his eyebrows suggestively. Kirishima laughs while Bakugo flushes a deep red. Yeah, we are. I love shitty hair regardless of his wacky ways. Bakugo smirks, putting his boyfriend in a friendly headlock. The group continues to banter, avoiding any mention of earlier events. When the bell rings, more students file in for lunch. No! Shoto cries as he sees a classmate knock his soba onto the floor. Izuku looks up and recognizes Nito Monoma from Class 2B. Oh Monoma, he sighs with a smirk, you made my beloved Canadian flag cry. Do you value your life? Monoma walks over and rests his elbow on Izuku's head. Like you could do anything about it. You got in through recommendations. I got in through pure skill, you slack-jawed dipstick. And before you think about copying my quirk, you should know that one of them can kill you instantly. Want me to inform you before you go hurting people? Izuku stands tall, making Monoma look small in comparison. He leans down to whisper in Monoma's ear, vitality can kill you with eye contact if it's not controlled. Alteration will mess up your body if it's not controlled. Take your pick. Monoma looks terrified and runs away screaming. Izuku smirks and buys Shoto some more soba as the cafeteria grows louder again. Hey, do you guys want to come over today? We can hit the pool and gym, Probably the game room too if Pops allows it, Izuku asks excitedly. A chorus of, hell yeah, responds. Kiri laughs. Can we come too? A voice asks from behind. They turn to see Shiro. No, the brothers say in unison. All please. Shiro pleads. Ugh fine, Aoyama, you can come, Shinso tells the shiny French boy. Shiro complains some more before being thrown into a crowd of first years. No means no. Izuku replies firmly. After their classes, the Warpack plus Aoyama heads to the Aizawa household. Okay, when we get in, don't scare any cats. No screaming until we get to the pool or gym. No breaking things. Ask before you do anything, safety reasons, Shinso explains. They arrive at a massive house with a tall wrought iron gate. The house has expanded from 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms to 8 bedrooms and 5 bathrooms. Holy shit, bros. Kirishima screams in Izuku's ear. Why didn't you invite us sooner? I didn't know you or trust you, the boys reply. Ouch, but that's understandable. Say bo. Aoyama exclaims, I cannot wait to see the inside. Izuku sighs and steps up to the gate, scanning his wrist to unlock it. The gate confirms his identity by checking his pulse. He receives several comments about how high-tech it is. Okay, Dad and Pops are home. No screaming or shouting. Is that understood? Izuku says in a serious tone. Everyone agrees and walks up the long driveway. They are curious about who Izuku and Shinso's, Pops, is, clearly someone important to Aizawa. The 2 boys had received permission to bring their friends over, so the couple is fine with the group knowing. Dad, Pops, we're home. Shinso practically screams from the doorway. Several of their cats come running from who knows where. Kirishima smiles his blinding shark smile and instantly starts petting and hugging the cats. About time you problem children arrived, Aizawa says as he comes around the corner, his hair pulled back in a half-up bun. He's dressed in gray sweats and a baggy blue tank top with the initials HY on the back. Shinso and Izuku snicker, anticipating what's about to happen. Aizawa is fairly tall, standing at 6 feet 1 inch, but Hisashi towers at 6 feet 5 inches. Oh, there are a couple more kids than I thought, Aizawa mutters to himself before calling out, oh, there's 2 more than I thought. A familiar voice shouts back, okay, why? Kirishima and Bakugo exchange puzzled glances, wondering why that voice sounds so familiar. Come on. Y'all can meet Pops at dinner. You brought clothes for the night, right? Izuku asks the newcomers, receiving blank stares and head shakes in return, except for Aoyama, who enthusiastically replies, oh yes I do. That's fine. Sure, and I should have some stuff that'll fit y'all, Izuku assures the group. He walks over to a door and opens it saying, come on, my fellow friends. We have places to be. Bakugo takes off, running down the stairs, howling with laughter, in straight A. Kirishima scowls, I thought you were gay, he screams before barreling down after Bakugo. The rest of the group chuckles and follows them down. At the bottom of the stairs, everyone stands frozen in shock except Shoto and the brothers. There's a large swimming pool with a shallow end of 3 feet and a deep end of 20 feet. Behind a large reinforced plexiglass door, there's a gym with weights, a sparring arena, 2 treadmills, and a wall of different training weapons. Whoa bro, this place is so cool. Bakugo and Kirishima exclaim. We're going to come here as often as we can. Kirishima continues. Magnifique. Aoyama adds, throwing in some French phrases. This is where I spend most of my free time. Swimming is my therapy, Izuku says with a soft smile. Meanwhile, upstairs, Kirishima is helping cut vegetables with Hisashi and Aizawa. Why aren't you with them, Kiri? Hisashi asks. I am. I'd rather help out here than down there, Kirishima replies. Hisashi hums in response, dancing to the music playing in the background. Since you're here, why not tell us a bit about yourself? Aizawa asks innocently. Oh, I don't know if that's such a good idea, Kirishima stutters. It's okay, we won't judge, promise? Aizawa reassures her, briefly looking up from chopping carrots. Oh, I'm about 150 years old. I gave up on counting the years a while ago. The two adults exchange wide-eyed glances as she continues. I was born in Austria, my mother was born in Russia where she also died, and my father was born and raised here in Japan. I came here at the age of 3 when my mother died. Father got a job at the hospital where I found Izuku. She trails off, seeming hesitant. Aizawa decides to ask a question. What was your mother's quirk? She was technically the second quirked person in existence. Although I don't know if it counts because it was through experimentation. She asked my father to give her the same serum that he used on himself. The couple looks at each other, somewhat horrified. Yes, my father is the first quirked person. He became quirked through experimentation, so I'm not sure if that counts. Regardless, my mother's quirk was called Lifeline. She could take life forces through physical contact and store it for extra energy later or heal herself with it. My father was gifted with the quirk age gap. You know him as the doctor that saved Izuku. I know him as my father who trained me for combat as long as I can remember. Then I lost my life when All for One came after my quirk. She ends with a grim smile. That's quite the interesting story you have, Kiri, Hisashi starts. All good heroes have a tough backstory. Aizawa and I both have our fair share of trauma. You would have made an incredible hero. I can't thank you enough for helping our Izuku in his dark times when he had no one else. The blonde gives her a heartfelt smile and a hug. Aizawa offers her a soft smile as well. Hey Zashi, do you want to go get the kids? Dinner's ready. Okie dokie. With that, the happy blonde skips away. Downstairs, the group decides to start with the gym and come back to the pool after dinner. Aoyama runs on the treadmill while practicing with a staff. The rest of the group lifts weights, spars, and trains with a variety of weapons. Izuku and Shinso teach the others new techniques and ways of fighting. A knock on the open door makes them pause. Bakugo, Aoyama, and Kirishima freeze, their eyes wide and jaws dropped. What is Mike-sensei doing here? Bakugo shouts. Oh, that's Pops, Izuku responds between breaths. What's up, Pops? Dinner's ready, clean up and then come eat. Hisashi bounces on his feet before turning around and dashing up the stairs again. We can shower up over there, just for the love of God, don't take your boxers off, Izuku sighs. Sorry, I'm a lonely bean. Isn't it obvious that Denki is all over you? His brother deadpants. Yes, it is. I like him a lot too, but I'm too self-conscious to tell him, Shinso admits shyly. The greenette reassures him before taking his shirt off, revealing a toned body and lean muscle. After a brief make-out session with Shoto, they all shower and head up to eat dinner. The dinner was amazing, and so was the pool afterward. They all got over the shock of present Mike being Aizawa's husband and were instructed to keep it quiet. Later on, they all went to bed. Kirishima and Bakugo got a room. Aoyama and Shinso shared, as did Izuku and Shoto. Aizawa kept checking on Izuku periodically. Around 4 a.m., he headed downstairs to get some coffee when he heard a quiet voice and a tiny sound come from Izuku's room. Oh no! His thoughts raced as he quietly walked down the hallway to his green-haired son's room. Aizu, you have a appealing body, right? Don't ever say you hate it. Your scars are gorgeous too. They show how strong you are. There was a pause between words in some spots. Aizawa heard Izuku whimper almost inaudibly. Shoo, baby, he heard Shoto coo. Nope. We are ending this now. He thought just before kicking down Izuku's door. He stared at the sight in front of him before glaring at Shoto and dragging him out of bed, down the stairs, and into the living room. Both boys were shirtless, Shoto in basketball shorts and Izuku in a pair of short drawstring shorts. They had been in the middle of an intense makeout session. When Aizawa kicked down the door, the boys rolled off the side of the bed, hiding with a blanket over them. Well, it was just Izuku now because Shoto had been dragged out. Everyone else was awake now and trying to figure out what was going on, except Hisashi and Shinso, who were doubled over in laughter. Izuku flew past them, face flushed red and trying to tie his shorts, which made everyone laugh harder. Come on, it's time to get up anyway. We start training at 4 and go to 8:30 on the weekends, Shinso said between bouts of laughter, leaving the 3 remaining visitors shocked. Then, that's earlier than me. Bakugo exclaimed. Shinso nodded with a devilish smirk and beckoned for them to follow. They crept down the stairs and stopped at the bottom, seeing Shoto and Izuku seated on opposite sides of the living room with a fuming Aizawa pacing between them. If I ever see that happening again, let alone hear it again, I will not hesitate to expel you, Shoto Todoroki. As for you, Izuku, you should know better. I don't need that to be the first thing I hear or see when I wake up. Aizawa vented. Technically, it's not the first thing you saw or heard, Izuku retorted. Aizawa glared at him. What was that? Well, the first thing you saw was a sprawled-out Pops with his arms around you. The first thing you heard was your own breathing. The boy stifled a laugh while saying this. That's it. Let's go. Follow me, Izuku in front and Shoto behind. There will be none of this in my house. Aizawa glared at Shoto. Is that understood? Both boys nodded and headed to the front lawn. Izuku, show Shoto the drill. Izuku squeaked as he nearly fell down the stairs. Grumpy goth, Izuku grumbled as he started doing one-armed push-ups. Shoto, let's go. Soon enough, everyone else came out and started doing what Izuku and Shoto were doing, only without shirts. Here's the drill. Kiri shouted while passing out slips of paper with writing on it. Are you serious? This is impossible. Kirishima and Bakugo replied. A look from Aizawa shut them up, though. Hisashi laughed again. 30 minutes to do 70 crunches, 50 sit-ups. We finished the push-ups, 50 flutter kicks, and 20 bicycle kicks. At the end, we'll have a 5-minute break, then we spar until 5. We get a 15-minute break. At 6 o'clock, we'll be going on a run. Yes, it is an intense long run. An hour to get there and an hour to get back. Let's go! Kiri shouted at the newcomers. Unbeknownst to the people training on the grass, behind the wrought iron gate stood a man and his partners. We'll be seeing each other again real soon, Kuzu. Real soon. Kurogyri, take us back. And with that, they were gone. Everyone except Aoyama stayed for the whole weekend. He couldn't keep up with the daily training. Bakugo, Kirishima, and Shoto had gained quite a few skills and some more lean muscle. It was Monday, and everyone got up to do a less intense workout and a shorter run before coming home, eating breakfast, showering, and leaving for school. So, Bakube, where were you guys all weekend? Oh my god, you have more muscles. Mina exclaimed, rushing over and fangirling. Back it up, Mina. He's mine, Kirishima said protectively as Izuku brushed past. The green-haired boy had a bad feeling about the day. Hey, let's go. We'll be late otherwise, he urged as everyone started to load up the bus. Poor Ida looked crestfallen because his seating arrangement had failed. The group walked through the mini crowd that had formed to get to the bus. It was the first field trip of the year, and it felt early to be going on one. The school usually waited at least 2 months to cut down the risk of villain attacks and improve security. They heard murmurs and taunts from students of all years and classes. Isn't that the Warpack? It's the Warpack. I've heard they took down the Big Three in a mock battle. Then Monoma showed up. Well, if it isn't the Warpack. His eyes were shadowed, and he wore his signature maniac smile. Shoto just stared at him. That it is, he confirmed. Monoma's face fell for a second before Shoto continued, it is the Warpack. It's an expression, Monoma deadpanned. Shoto struggled to keep from laughing. It's not an expression. It's the Warpack. Monoma looked done with life and merged back into the crowd. Once he was gone, Shoto and the rest of the pack started laughing so hard they forgot how to breathe. Come on, let's load up. I just want to sleep, Shinso said after regaining his breath. Izuku and Shoto found a spot in the back of the bus, and the greenette curled into his boyfriend's side. He woke up to the sound of phone camera shutters going off and half the class surrounding them. Let's go, all you problem children, Aizawa called out to the kids packed into the back of the bus. A chorus of, yes sir, came from them as they filed off the bus. When they entered, they saw the Pro Hero 13, who pulled Aizawa to the side and held up 3 fingers. Shinso and Izuku sighed deeply. He's never gonna learn. Hello students. Welcome to the unexpected simulation joint. also called the USJ. Before we beg, 13 started, but Izuku interrupted. Sorry, but something's wrong here. Something's not right, Izuku said hurriedly. They all knew that the seasoned ex-killer and vigilante always trusted his gut, and his gut was never wrong. Aizawa was instantly on guard because 5 seconds later, at least 100 villains appeared through a purple-black portal. Izuku recognized this portal well. The League was here. 13, get the students out. Now, it's the League. The two heroes knew what the League of Villains was. The students? Not so much. Aizawa and Momo recognized a few of them from Izuku's memories. Speaking of which, the greenette pulled on his new mask and vaulted himself down in front of the villain ringleaders. Sup, handjob? Finally finished your first project, I see, Izuku said coolly, pointing at the gnome. It took a minute before Shigaraki realized who the boy in front of him was. Keiuzu, why are you with the heroes? What happened to you? Why the sudden disappearance? Shigaraki asked. Well, you see, I tried to kill myself but got caught halfway down the fall. Then I gained a new quirk. And then I accidentally hurt my friends. Except Dabi. I miss him. If you ever see him, please tell him hello for me. He won't talk to me. Anyway, then I was adopted, and now here I am, the green-haired boy replied. Seeing as you recognized me, though, looks like I won't need this. But this instead. He discarded his mask and threw his scythe pin into the air, and the giant scythe appeared. What are you wearing? Spinner asked, appearing from behind Shigaraki. My combat clothes? Izuku replied, confused. They looked like ordinary fighting clothes, albeit military-styled. Yeah, them too, but what's up with the 3 swords? The lizard replied. Shigaraki took an interest in the swords now too. You were chosen, weren't you? Izuku froze momentarily, but that was all Shigaraki needed as confirmation. He cackled and shouted, We need this one alive, guys. Izuku's eyes widened. Kiri! A portal appeared under some students, Kiri included, and they all disappeared to different parts of the dome building. Sheet, he cursed. Well, I guess I have to deal with you sooner than I thought. If looks could kill, Shigaraki would be 100 times dead right now. He jumped back over to Aizawa and the students. Kiri will be next to me in a sec. Disable the warp gate's quirk and have Ida run as fast as he can to get help. Once he's through, do your best to get the rest of the students out. Go. With that, Izuku jumps back down to the front line of the villains. No. Body. Friends. He roars as he takes out his black blade. As he stated, Kiri is fighting alongside him. 5 by 5, the villains are falling. Soon enough, there are only about 20 villains left and the 3 from the League. Shigaraki scratches at his neck angrily. That's not fair. Noma. Kill him. He whines, ordering his beast to attack Izuku. Izuku quickly whispers to Kiri before dodging the monster's attack. Find a safe place for your body, then let me absorb your soul. I need the strength boost. Kiri quickly disappears, and a moment later, Izuku's eyes shift to their unique galaxy color. I warned you, Tenko Shimura. Do not mess with the ones I love. The galaxy seems to be taking over his body. Shigaraki's eyes widen in shock, and a shiver goes down his spine. Nomu kill him, he repeats, scratching furiously at his neck. Izuku takes a stance to fight when he realizes that the Nomu isn't going for him. The monstrous creature is going for his dad. He momentarily panics before flinging himself at the creature that has his dad in an arm lock. Aizawa shouts in pain as the Nomu snaps both of his arms like they were twigs. The greenette kicks the beast away. He then hands his orange and gold healing sword to Katsuki. Take this and press the side of it against his arms and injuries, then get out of here. He runs over to Shoto. I love you so much. Remember that. Now run. With a kiss on Shoto's lips, Izuku is gone. Bakugo does as instructed, and Aizawa stands up as if he hadn't nearly been torn to pieces. Izuku and Kiri can handle this. Now run. Aizawa shouts at the kids before erasing the warp gate's quirk again, allowing the students to escape. They were safe, and they could only hope that Izuku and Kiri could hold off the beast long enough. None of them knew Kiri was merged with Izuku. They found out when Izuku shoved her unconscious form into Momo's arms. "What?" the class shouts in unison. They all realize he is in there alone, battling dangerous villains. Aizawa wouldn't let them go through, insisting that Izuku would be furious if they interfered. Back inside, the Nomu and Izuku are battling fiercely. His blade of death is somewhat ineffective against the creature, but with every cut, it shrinks a couple of centimeters. Izuku jumps into the air to land a solid kick on the exposed brain. The Nomu is quicker and catches his ankle. Izuku's alteration quirk is useless. The Nomu is alive, and he can only use his upgrade body form for 10 seconds. The beast grabs Izuku's ankle and sends him face-first into a rock wall. Several bone-crunching sounds are heard, yet the boy still tries to fight. "Nomu, make his death slow and painful," Shigaraki commands, and the beast follows the order. It grabs Izuku's neck in one hand and his wrist in the other, starting to pull until it begins to tear off. It leaves the arm half attached and does the same with his other arm. The creature doesn't stop there. It snaps his leg at the knee, and Izuku lets out a scream that could be heard from a mile away. When the Nomu lifts him into the air, after practically shattering his skull and spine, Izuku jams the blade of death into it from above, piercing through the brain and into the heart. The beast quickly withers away, and Shigaraki screams in rage. "Kurogyri! Let's go!" Before leaving, he turns to Izuku. "I'll be back for you and that quirk." That Nomu was meant to kill All Might. The color of Izuku's eyes returns to their toxic green when he looks up. "Guess it's a good thing that I'm stronger than All Might, huh?" Shigaraki turns to step through his portal when Izuku continues. "Yeah, that's right, you can't run from me. Watch your step." The door blasts open as the villains disappear. All Might stands at the top of the stairs. "Do not worry, for I am here." "Wait," he shouts before realizing Izuku is the only one left. Soon to be no one left if the boy doesn't receive medical attention immediately. Kiri, who has woken up, can see everything happening through Izuku's eyes. She calls Aizawa, "Dad, now." "Aizawa, he's going to die." The villains are gone, but his injuries are severe, she urgently shouts. When Aizawa hears that the villains are all gone or dead, he stands up and starts running to the entrance, only for someone to block his path and shout his signature phrase. Aizawa soon follows and sees the last of a portal disappear into the air. He quickly scans around, looking for his son. "Izuku, where are you?" The duo starts searching the water zone first, but Izuku is on the other side, in the mountain zone, broken and in critical condition. The other pro-heroes finally arrive, and Aizawa runs up to them. "Split up. Izuku had us put outside while he stayed behind to handle the villains. The only issue is we can't find him. Hurry up and spread out. Zashi and Namuri, come with me. Everyone else, split up." Aizawa heads toward the conflagration zone when he hears a tiny cough and the sound of rubble falling. If not for his sharp hearing, he would have missed it. "Hey, you two. I heard something in the mountain zone." The three of them run into the mountainous terrain, calling for Izuku. They don't receive a reply at first, but after a while, they hear more rubble falling behind a small cliff. Izuku lies trapped under countless rocks, his body severely injured. He sees a blurry figure approaching and weakly holds up his black sword. He cries as another rock falls from the cliff. Hisashi's eyes widen in horror and he screams, "In the back of the mountain zone. Need medical ASAP." The loud blonde rushes over to Izuku but sees him raise his blade. "Izuku, it's me. It's Pops. I'm here. You won, son. You beat them. Just hold on, kid, hold on." His voice cracks as he desperately tries to remove the rocks on top of the boy. The other pros and a few select students join the search when they hear Mike shouting from the mountain zone, his voice filled with panic. Snipe looks over to Bakugo. "Run and get the medics," he shouts as he, All Might, Shoto, Shinso, Kirishima, and Cementos run toward Mick's voice. Bakugo nods and runs off. When they reach Mike, they see him, Midnight, and Aizawa panicking and trying to relocate large rocks. Aizawa notices the others. The fastest of you, run and get Uraraka. She can help with these rocks. All Might takes off and returns moments later with Uraraka. Where's Izuku? Everyone asks. He's under the rubble, is the only response as All Might quickly begins to clear the larger rocks. Finally, a hand is visible, pale and weak. I found him. Shoto screams, terrified for his boyfriend. Please be okay, Izuku. He can't help but think that Izuku knows the probability of his death is high. I can't think like that. After several more minutes of clearing rubble, Izuku is revealed. Bakugo jumps down to help, and the medics move in quickly. He's not breathing. Do you have a pulse? It's faint. Izuku. Izuku, can you hear me? The medic with metallic teal hair asks. The mangled boy's eyes barely open, and he looks like he's trying to say something. Aizawa, next to him as they rush him out, leans down to hear his son better. I did it, Dad. I did it. A hero. I-C-A-N-D-die. With one L less regret now. Thank you for everything. Tito Pops. I love him. Why it's Shoto and the rest of He cuts off as his eyes roll back, and his body starts to convulse. No. Save him. He can't die like this. Save him. Aizawa screams at the medics as they finally get him out of the building. Classmates and reporters crowd the path of the boy on the brink of death. Bakugo. Where's his sword? Hisashi asks the shaking teen, who hands him the sword without a word. Use this. I don't know how it works. Kiri can help. It's his healing sword. It can heal and rewind injuries. The blonde rushes to Kiri, who is pushing people out of the way. When he gets far enough in front of the medics, he inhales deeply before shouting, "Move. If this boy dies, you'll regret it." That gets everyone moving. Kiri approaches Izuku. Izuku, it's okay. We're here. Don't you dare leave us. She gently moves the medics aside and presses the golden blade to his injuries. This won't fully heal him, but it'll keep him alive long enough to reach the hospital. Now go. She pulls a struggling Aizawa back. The man falls to his knees. Why didn't he let me help? I could have helped him. No, the beast nearly tore you apart. If it wasn't for Izuku's sword, you'd probably be dead, Shinso says quietly, hugging his father. Mike soon joins them before they head to the hospital. 2 weeks later, the media is all over the story, trying to uncover the identity of the soul fighter. All they have is the name Kuzu, clearly an alias, and a description, tall with green hair. The entirety of Class 1A, Midnight, and the Aizawa family have camped out in the lobby for the last 2 weeks, only leaving to change clothes, use the bathroom, or grab food. Izuku came out of the ICU 3 days ago, and now they are just waiting for him to wake up. Kiri merges her soul with his and talks with him for a while before returning. He could hear everything but couldn't move or feel anything. Kiri, did I die? Did I die a hero? The young boy asked, remembering the field where they first met. No, but you came very close a few times. I used every last bit of energy in my healing sword on you. It's still recharging. Yes, you won the battle. Just rest up. I'll visit periodically. She couldn't use his sword because it wouldn't work on its owner. After that, she visited him twice a day. After what felt like months in a coma, Izuku finally opened his eyes. The light was blinding, and every inch of his body hurt. He looked around to see he was in a nice hospital room with a table overflowing with cards and flowers. He saw a button to call a nurse, but when he tried to move his arm to push it, pain shot through his shoulder, and he let out a raspy sound. Fortunately, a nurse was passing by and heard him. She rushed in and quickly left to get a doctor and close family. Less than 5 seconds later, the door swung open, revealing Bakugo, Shoto, Shinso, Hisashi, and Aizawa. Aizawa and Hisashi were the only ones allowed to touch him. The others had to wait until he could move better. Izuku tried to talk, but only more raspy sounds came out. Hold on, kid. Let me get you some water, Hisashi said, returning with a glass and a bendy straw. Sip, not chug. Izuku nodded appreciatively and slowly drank. "You're okay," was the first thing he managed to say, adding a smile. Aizawa was left in shock. This kid literally broke his entire body to save me. Do you have any idea how scared I was when we found you? You were about to die, Izuku. Never do that again, Aizawa said, frustration evident in his voice. Just then, the doctor walked in and recognized him from Kiri's memories. Hello, Izuku. Nice to see you again. Although I wish it was under different circumstances, Dr. Himoya began, but was interrupted. You address me as young Aizawa. No, it isn't nice to see you. I don't care where we are, Izuku replied, furious. Excuse me? Young man, are you feeling all right? The doctor stuttered. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Just peachy, Izuku seethed. We're going to get another MRI to make sure there's nothing pressing against your brain, like swelling that could cause behavioral changes. No, there's nothing wrong with me. Just the memories left behind in my head. You're a monster, you know that? Who hurts their child for walking too loudly? You're just like my mother. Izuku's anger was palpable. Young man, those are harsh allegations and you have no proof, so if you excuse me... No. I have all the proof I need. Your daughter is the only person in the world who knows every detail about me. She can willingly merge her mind with mine. He delivered a steely glare. How about we call her in? Kiri walked through the door, and the first thing she saw was her successor, followed by her father. Oh, hello, Deku. Long time no see. Wish it was even longer. The two stepped out into the hall, and their argument was loud. 2 days later, Izuku was cleared to go home, but both Kiri and Koyu Himoya had mysteriously disappeared. Nobody knew anything. Izuku still had to use crutches for his sprained tendons, which annoyed him because he couldn't do any exercise except light crunches. Even using the crutches was difficult due to the strain on his wrists. How you feelin', kid? Aizawa asked during the drive home. Hisashi was driving with Aizawa in the passenger seat. Shinso was in the third row, and Izuku had his legs propped up in the middle row. I am absolutely peachy. Just know that I'm going to be relying on you all for the next couple of weeks. Oh come on little bro. It's not that bad. Izuku shot him a glare. You try wiping your own backside with a broken hand. Hisashi laughed so hard they nearly crashed the car. Nah, I'm good. Izuku pulled himself up with his more healed arm and grabbed Shinso's hand in a tight grip. I swear, Shinso, I will get you back for this. Not much you can do when you break yours. It's okay, you win. Shinso screamed when Izuku sat back down, still holding his hand. Enough you two. We're home. Izuku, do your best to shuffle over without re-breaking yourself. When they entered, Izuku nearly had a heart attack. Most of his teachers and his whole class were in the living room and along the staircase. Everyone jumped up and shouted, "Welcome home, Izuku." Hey guys. You really shouldn't have, but thank you, he replied with a bright smile. The celebration lasted all night. As people began to leave, Shoto rushed up to him. Hey babe. Izuku hummed in response, feeling exhausted. There's someone waiting for you in your room. This gets Izuku's attention. Oh, who? Shoto looks hesitant. I've never seen him before, but he seems so familiar. His voice and his hug. He's cut off by an impatient Izuku who hobbles up the stairs. Ain't no one hugging you without your consent. That's my job. Izuku. Please. The greenette freezes. Shoto never uses his name unless it's important. What's wrong? He said that you might be upset. You might not be. Shoto, did he give you a name? Dab? Bambi? Dauber? Dobi? Doki? Dabi? Yeah, that's it. When Shoto turns to look at Izuku, the boy is already racing up the steps, using his crutches to propel himself. He slams his bedroom door open and sees a familiar black-haired teen looking at the pictures on his wall. The pictures of Izuku and Shoto hugging, kissing, and holding hands, to be specific. Dabi, you're alive. Izuku breathes out, attempting to limp over to the tall boy. Dabi turns to look at Izuku in shock. The shock goes both ways. Dabi's scars are gone. They look to have been healed. Oh my god. That's why he didn't die. He was injured, and his injuries were healed. That's why you didn't die. I was so scared that I had lost you too. Rare tears well up in the greenette's eyes. He's alive. Dabi looks just as shocked that Izuku figured it out so quickly. Please take care of Shoto's Zuki. I lost him once. I don't want to see him take the path that we took. Speaking of Shoto, he appears in the doorway. Why do you seem familiar? He asks, his voice icy. You said you lost me once. Who are you? Shoto is getting defensive. Izuku turns to his boyfriend. Come over here, babe. There's something we need to tell you. Shoto eyes the mysterious Ravenet suspiciously and walks over. Now take out the picture you have of your whole family. Izu. What's going on? Just do it please, babe. Shoto takes out the photo. It's a Christmas picture of a 3-year-old Shoto, Rei, Natsuo, Fuyumi, and his brother who supposedly died years ago, Tuya. Tuya had spiky fiery red hair and was nearly as tall as their father. Notice anyone familiar? Dabi speaks up this time. His little brother mumbles to himself, not Natsuo, the jawline is too defined. Definitely not Dad. Wait. The bicolored-haired boy stares at Dabi, well, Tuya, in disbelief. No, you died. We went to your funeral. Little brother, I've watched you grow so much. Please don't reject me now. Shoto runs at Tuya, embracing him in a bear hug. Only if you promise never to leave me again. I promise, Shoto. I promise. 1 year later. Izuku and his fellow classmates have progressed to their 3rd year. Shoto proposed to Izuku, so now they are engaged. Dabi enrolled at UA and is now a part of the Warpack. The previous Big Three are now pro-heroes, and the Warpack has taken over their position. The League of Villains has rarely been seen in the last year. Izuku and the rest of the pack are on patrol in the heart of Mizudafu City. They have all decided to intern at Endeavor's agency. The fiery hero has changed for the better. Shaka. Shoto and Dabi have managed to somewhat forgive him. The man is acting like a real father finally. While patrolling, Izuku and Bakugo go to check on some sniffling they hear in an alleyway. There, in the back of the alleyway, sits a young boy. He can't be older than 6 years old. His arms are covered in bandages, and his eyes glow in the dark, a bright, rich blue color. Hey little dude, are you alright? Bakugo thinks, of course the kid isn't alright. Look at him. I'm a dumbbutt. The boy shuffles forward and makes eye contact with Izuku. I'm sorry, mister. They said they would hurt mommy if I didn't do this. He stutters out. Izuku freezes as the boy's eyes glow brighter, nearly blinding. Bakugo picks the boy up and runs him out of the alleyway, dragging Izuku behind him. The tall green-haired boy seems paralyzed and can't move. He starts shaking and crying. Oh God, what did I do? I didn't want it to turn out this way. Please no. He starts shouting and shaking, repeating, I'm sorry. What did you do to him? Bakugo shouts at the child, panicking. The rest of the patrol group comes around the corner and sees Izuku clutching his hair and backing into a corner, freaking out. They also see Bakugo shouting at a child. What happened here? Is the thought going through everyone's head. Shoto races up to his boyfriend, who has collapsed and is screaming that he's sorry. Bakugo! What happened here? A slightly scared Endeavor asks the panicking blonde. The pro has seen some scary things and been through hell and back. Izuku is the toughest kid he's ever met. Tougher than Shoto. The green-haired boy had fought Endeavor and would have won if he hadn't tripped. Now that same boy is huddled in a corner, screaming apologies and tugging at his hair. We split from the group because we heard sniffling and crying from the alleyway. We found this kid and he apologized, saying someone was going to hurt his mother if he didn't do it. His eyes were blindingly bright, and Izuku was shaking, saying he was sorry and didn't want it to turn out this way. Bakugo was on the verge of a panic attack. Kid, what did you do? Shoto's voice cracked. They were going to hurt my mommy. I didn't want to do it, I swear. That's not the answer we need, kid. Did you use your quirk on him? A nod. What's your quirk? It erases any kind of memory. I had to erase all memories except for his bad ones, the boy mumbled. The group stared at him in shock. Shinso, Bakugo, and Shoto were furious. Who? They demanded in unison. Who made you do it? Shinso growled through gritted teeth. He didn't tell me his name, but Mr. Lizard called him Hanman. The name sent a chill through everyone. He's had it out for Izuku since before we knew him, Shoto said in a hushed voice. Izuku had only wanted to help the boy, to make sure he was safe. Why did the boy do that? He felt drawn in by the boy's eyes, then there was a flash of light, and his mind felt blank. All he could think of were the people he had hurt. He remembered everything that Bakugo had done to him, the argument with Shoto, and the loss of his friends. It was as if all his good memories had disappeared, leaving only hatred, anxiety, and pain. Voices echoed in his mind, criticizing and demeaning him. He backed into a corner, blocking everything out. Shigaraki was using Izuku as a puppeteer, manipulating him to hurt others. From a rooftop a block away, Shigaraki watched the chaos unfold. The boy had revealed too much. Now he had to eliminate him and his mother. Izuku wouldn't let anyone touch him. Why was he here? Why was everyone here? Who were these people? He saw a shirtless boy with spiky red hair and a kid with purple hair. He faintly remembered the purple-haired kid from a fight where he had been pushed to his limits. Then he noticed Katsuki Bakugo, his tormentor, and felt a surge of rage. A man with raven hair and a scarf jumped down from a roof. Izuku recognized him as the pro-hero Eraserhead. Memories flooded back of running from his house in tears after being called a liability. He also saw a blonde man he recognized as Present Mike, who had made him deaf for a week. Confusion and panic set in. The last truly bad memory he had was when he jumped out of a window to escape after an incident. He shakily stood up, pushing through the voices in his head. Izuku glared at everyone and summoned his scythe, kicking Shoto away. He tore off the cursed swords that had caused him so much pain and threw them aside. Why are you all here? Just let me go, he screamed, scythe ready for a fight. Endeavor rushed to explain the situation to Izuku's parents. Izuku continued to shout at the heroes and trainees. If it isn't Bakugo Katsuki and the son of the flaming garbage can, I won't hesitate to take you all down. His growl was fierce, but the panic in his eyes betrayed him. Izuku, Bakugo started, but Izuku shouted, pounding his palms against his head, falling to his knees. Get out, get out, get out, get out of my head, he screamed, leaping up the side of the building. He paused, staring at the boy who had cursed him. Death is ready to collect your soul, he said, and with that, the scythe stabbed deep into the boy's gut. More heroes arrived, quickly informed of the situation. Aizawa and Mike rushed over. Please don't kill our son. We can find a way to reverse this. Just please don't kill him, they pleaded. The others nodded and Edgeshot sighed, we will try our best. They turned back to Izuku, who transformed into a small monkey to climb faster. Aizawa activated his quirk, and Izuku plummeted to the ground, where Shoto created a slide of ice to catch him. A few people cautiously approach the boy who shatters the ice slide with a single swing of his scythe. Why won't you just let me leave? I don't belong with you people. I belong with my own kind, he growls. His kind? Some of the heroes think. Izuku, do you remember me? Aizawa asks slowly. The boy spits at his face. Yeah, I do. I'm just a liability, right? A burden? Right. He brings up the memory of a drunken Aizawa. That's when reality hits. Their Izuku is gone. He doesn't remember the good times, only the pain and hurt. I'm tired of He stops his mantra to let out a frustrated yell. Get out of my head. The greenette screams at nothing in particular. People start to back up as his voice switches from deep to normal to a higher pitch and back. Dabi recognizes the higher voices as Toga and Jiro, and informs the heroes what's going on. Worthless. You can't even protect yourself. Look at you. You got caught. By your tormentors no less. Please go away. I'm sorry. We'd rather stay. After all, a worthless Deku such as yourself needs someone to watch them. Leave me alone. Izuku shrieks, holding the scythe at an awkward angle, the point facing up under his jaw. Those around him know what he's about to do, but they can't reach him in time. Bakugo, Shoto, and Shinso, who were less than 2 feet away, couldn't get to him quick enough. Izuku shouts out loud to the voices in his head before his eyes lose their crazed look for a moment. The little boy is holding his hands out, shaking tremendously. I can't hold it for long. They all realize he's reversing the quirk momentarily, but everyone is frozen at the words spilling from Izuku's mouth. Thank you for the happiest year of my life. I can't turn back. I love wife. As Shoto and Kacchan, the boy trying to reverse his quirk loses hold, and Izuku's head fills with voices again. The physically scarred and mentally broken boy stares into blank space with tears pouring from his eyes, which turn into blood running down his pale face. The greenette tilts his head back, points the scythe, and as he takes his final breath, he says, I can finally be free. Izuku slams the soft spot under his chin down on the scythe, the deathly sharp blade piercing through his head. He was gone before his eyes could flutter closed. A fresh red liquid spatters on those closest to him, Shoto, Shinso, Bakugo, and Aizawa. The green-haired boy who had stayed strong through thick and thin, who saved their lives at the USJ, who smiled warmly and comforted his friends, was now gone. Shigaraki had given him the final push that killed him. Bakugo stared at his hands, shaking harshly. Shoto and Shinso hugged Aizawa while Mike fell to his knees, screaming in anger and sadness. They weren't sure what to do next, but they all knew Shigaraki was going to pay. A fairly large crowd had formed, with reporters circling overhead. Pale blue hair and chapped lips caught Shoto, Shinso, and Aizawa's attention. The familiar figure turned to retreat into the crowd, but the three quickly grabbed him and dragged him to the other pros. Shigaraki Tamura? Or should I say Tenko Shimura, why would you do this? He was just a boy. Aizawa screamed at the man pinned to the side of a police. Shigaraki laughed coldly. He ruined my plans. So I ruined his life. Quite literally too. Ha! A familiar white-haired figure jumped down from a building, her aura horrifying and demanding. People knelt as she walked by. Even Shigaraki looked terrified. So you really are alive. Okawo, he spat. Oh yes. I am, but you are coming with me. She reached him, grabbed him by the collar of his hoodie, and kneed him in the stomach. When he keels over, she grabs the back of his head and slams his face onto her armored knee, eliciting a screech of pain. He will never bother anyone ever again. Please don't follow. You'll get stuck without the accompaniment of a ghost or spirit, she called out as Shigaraki screeched. A large white and gold portal opened behind them. Until next time, Shoyuda Aizawa. Izuku says hello. A note appeared in Aizawa's hands. I made a deal with the devil. Quite literally. Izuku is at your house. He is a ghost like me. If he finds a successor, he will do what I did and split forms, becoming half ghost, half human. He would like Shinso to be his successor. Anyway, go home. He's waiting for you all. Everyone stood up, relieved to have the aura gone. The Aizawa family, plus Shoto, Bakugo, and Kiri, came over. We're going home. Let the medics collect the body, Aizawa said quietly, tears streaming from his pain-filled eyes. They all walked into the house silently and heard the sink running. Aizawa's eyes light up with hope as he rushes to the kitchen and shouts, "Oh my God! Izuku!" Everyone follows him and sees a bluish-white form of the green-haired boy. The boy gives them a sad smile. Hey guys. I have my memories now. I also saw everything that happened. Kiri showed me. Shinso. Izuku turns to the crying and baffled boy. Will you be my successor? I can come back again. It's my only chance of having a physical body. He states with a mixture of happiness and sadness. Yes, brother. I will. It had been 4 weeks since Izuku died. He was actually just a ghost floating around the house, training Shinso. Every morning he'd wake Shinso up, make sure his successor got changed, and ensured he ate so he didn't pass out 4 miles away from home. Today was supposed to be the same as any other day, except Izuku and Shinso were going to sleep until 10. Today was the day Izuku would return. Nobody had seen Izuku actually sleeping in the 4 weeks he'd been with them, so you can imagine Aizawa's surprise when he came home from patrol at 3 a.m. and saw a child floating around his living room. What? He exclaimed, waking up the whole house. Bakugo, Kirishima, Dabi, Hisashi, Shoto, Shinso, and Denki came barreling down the stairs. What's wrong? Hisashi asked before noticing where Aizawa was staring. Oh my! Izuku woke up and saw everyone staring at him. I know I have a gorgeous body, but geez guys. All of you have boyfriends. Shinso and I have a surprise for you today. Speaking of insomniac successor of mine, get your butt to sleep. We have a long day. Surprise? Was the thought of everyone except Shinso, who smirked, sighed, and went back to sleep despite Denki's protests. He was not going to suffer just because his boyfriend wanted to stay up at 3 a.m. 7 hours later, the whole house was ordered to be quiet until 10 a.m. It was hard, but they managed. At 10 a.m. on the Hisashi screeched, only to have a shoe thrown at him. Wait, it's been so quiet. Yes, because if Shinso isn't well rested, he'll be in trouble. Everyone except Shinso looked shocked. Izuku pointed at Shinso, you and I need to talk about today. Let's go. He floated out the door with Shinso close behind. Once they settled under a nice shaded tree, Izuku explained what was going to happen and the aftereffects. It's going to hurt a lot. Be ready for that. It's also going to feel like something is being ripped from inside you. Like if you were water and I was the thing causing resistance. Makes sense? Shinso nodded eagerly. Good. Also, wear clothes you don't mind throwing away. Like you saw with me, my clothes changed as well. My fighting outfit will appear on me as I take a solid form. Your outfit will change too. 6 swords will appear, 2 of each. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is allowed to touch those except for you and me. Also, for a while, none of your current clothes will stay on your body once you change. They incinerate or just disappear. The purple-haired boy stared in confusion. Yeah, I don't know either. I have a specially made uniform in my closet if you want it. Otherwise, stay in the outfit you are regenerated with. The outfit cleans itself and never smells. It's magic. I don't know. Anyway, ready? Yes. Let's do this. Calm down. You need to save all your energy. Come on, they're waiting in the arena. Izuku said, floating off in a hurry. If there was one thing he hated, it was being late. Everyone was waiting in the indoor arena. What was the surprise? They didn't believe it was time for the separation. It took Izuku months to prepare for that. Denki and Kirishima were sparring while Bakugo judged their form. Dabi and Shoto were doing Pilates. Aizawa and Hisashi were discussing their relationship dynamics. Soon enough, Izuku floated in and stopped in the middle of the mat with Shinso. Izuku was absorbed into Shinso's mind, and seconds later, the white fog from a few years ago returned. After 15 minutes of Shinso howling in pain, it was quiet. There stood Izuku, back in his black muscle tank top, black cargo breathes, combat boots, and dark green flannel around his waist. He was really back. Beside him stood Shinso, who looked like he wanted to run for 10 miles but also wanted to collapse. Shinso's new outfit was an open black and purple kimono robe with a black muscle t-shirt, black ripped joggers, combat boots, 2 katanas, and a handgun holster under the robe. He also wore open-backed fingerless gloves. Izuku. Shoto breathed out before running and hugging him. Oh my god, I have missed being able to hug you. Everyone else, even Bakugo, joined in on the group hug, congratulating and complimenting Shinso on being ready so quickly. So, Lil bro, Shinso began. Izuku replied from his place between Bakugo, Dabi, and Shoto. How does it feel to have an actual body again? To be honest, kinda weird. If Sho, Dabs, and Bakugo move, I don't know if I can walk. It's been a while since I haven't just floated to where I wanted to go. Let's test that. Bakugo pulled Dabi and Shoto off of Izuku, and as he stated, Izuku fell. Bomb Beach, burnt chicken sheet, and candy cane. See? Come back here. Izuku roars as he finally figures out how to run again. Hisashi and Aizawa were in the kitchen making a large feast for everyone. They even invited Namuri, Nizu, Toshinori, and several other classmates over. Everyone was elated that Izuku was back in his physical form and Shinso had received the quirk. That night was filled with partying, drinking, and mock battles in the arena. The house was finally back to normal, and now Shinso had to enter the swords. What a journey that would be! It had been 6 months since Shinso and Izuku split apart. Izuku had finally regained his full power, and Shinso had perfected the swords. He was even able to enhance plant growth with the life aspect of his quirk. The League of Villains attacked Hosu again, but it didn't last long. The Nomu they sent was weak against fire, and Endeavor showed up in dramatic fashion. Izuku decided to take Shinso on his first official mission to the alleyway. In Mizudafu City, where the League of Villains hideout was known to be. Shinso, breathe. We're doing surveillance. You're staying put while I go in. I can control what part of my body goes ghostly. Remember? Izuku reassured his successor. During Izuku's transition to his physical form, something had gone awry. His ability was very similar to Mirio Togata's quirk, permeation, but it was an ability rather than a quirk. Izuku jumped down from the rooftop where Shinso was hiding and floated through the door to the bar. He decided to go full ghost mode. Nobody seemed to notice him. Dabi had returned after Izuku's death and was in a deep depression over it, though he still hated Shigaraki. The young black-haired man was sitting at the bar, spinning a shot glass on his finger, watching something on his phone. Mustard was sleeping on the couch, and Shigaraki was sitting a couple of seats away, drinking from a shot glass and talking with Spinner, who looked bored. Twice was talking to himself and pacing back and forth, hugging a teddy bear. The greenette began to grow bored and interrupted the silence. Hello. Lovely to see you all again. Especially you, Shigaraki. The villains tensed and prepared to attack the new voice, but their attacks phased right through. Sorry. Attack me again and you'll regret it. What does that even mean, and how are you still alive? Shigaraki screamed. I watched you die. I watched that scythe go through your head. Izuku sighed. That's none of your business. A deep voice interrupted. I think it's my business. Izuku turned to Dabi. Sorry, but not right now. So how are you all doing? He chuckled and looked around. The childish H&DJB is still alive. Wannabe Ninja Turtle, how you doing? Mr. Circus, nice to know you're alive and well. And finally, Billy Milligan. Looking good. They all just stared at him as he floated around and stopped in front of Dabi. Dabi, he whispered, my old friend. You should come visit sometime. It gets lonely every once in a while. Shinso whispered through the comms, am I not company enough? Oh, there's never enough friendship. He floated over to Mustard. So, tell me, how's life as a villain? Comfy? All you ever wished for and more? The boy looked taken aback at his name. You're lucky MSTR wants you alive. Or what? You'd kill me? I can always be the ghost that haunts you. He grinned and floated past Kurogiri then to Shigaraki. Shigaraki swung a punch at him, but it phased through. Izuku pouted. So mean. Well, I best be going. We were only here for surveillance anyway. We? Shigaraki screeched. Now, I hope you all have a nice day. Dabi, stop by sometime. Love you, homie. Everyone else, take care. He said as he floated out the door and quickly flew back to Shinso. Alright, hold on tight, we gotta zoom, he stated as he transformed and took off with Shinso clinging to him. When Izuku opened the door, they walked in on a pacing Hisashi, a hyperventilating Aizawa, and a panicking Shoto, who had Kirishima and Bakugo trying to calm him down. In the corner sat Denki, poking the air and drooling with sparks surrounding him. Guys? Dad Pops? What happened? Oh my god, you're home. You're home alive. Hisashi screeched and tackled the boys. Yes? Why wouldn't we be? You never know what those League of Villains are up to, Aizawa interrupted. Guys. We're literally home 2 minutes and 12 seconds late. Relax. You could have been in trouble. Well, we aren't. Well, you could have been. Well, we aren't. This back and forth continued for several minutes until Izuku, overwhelmed, started shouting nonsensical phrases. Hisashi yelled, well, you could have been. Aizawa and the others had to step in and separate them, dragging them to their rooms. Shoto tended to Izuku's ears. Good night, Izuku. The Ravenet calmly closed the door. Shoto wrapped his arms around Izuku and kissed him on the forehead. Sleep, baby. The greenette nodded tiredly and curled up against Shoto's chest. 2 days later, Izuku had finally regained full hearing. The first thing he said to Hisashi was, "Pops, I cannot express how badly. I want to mess with your hair." The blonde shrieked and hid behind Aizawa. "Shoo! He wants to ruin my luscious locks." Aizawa sighed heavily. "And you call me the bottom?" Hisashi, now blushing, whispered to Aizawa, "I can prove that if you like." Aizawa turned red as Hisashi picked him up and carried him to their room, slamming the door behind them. Shoto walked up to Izuku, wrapping his arms around the smaller boy's waist and leaning down to kiss his neck. "The others are out on a double date. We can head to our room and actually have some fun now that we don't have to worry about noise." Izuku blushed deeply and let out a tiny whimper. "Words, baby." Shoto murmured softly in his ear. "That sounds GG good." Izuku stuttered. "Perfect." Shoto smirked, throwing Izuku over his shoulder. "No speaking until you're all tied up for me." Izuku nodded. "Good boy." Shoto praised. He lightly tossed Izuku onto the bed and grabbed 2 different colors of rope, pastel green and white. A few minutes later, Izuku was in a compromising position on the bed, tied up. Shoto stepped back to admire his handiwork. "You look so pretty, all tied up and exposed." "Just for me." Izuku let out a soft whimper. "Shoto." "Yes, baby?" Please." "Please what?" "I need you to use your words." I need why. "Please, Sho. If you want me." Shoto turned Izuku onto his back and positioned himself over him. "You'll have to beg." He teased Izuku, eliciting gasps and whimpers. "Shoto, please." Izuku begged. "Ah. You need to wait, baby." After a moment of teasing, Shoto finally gave in to Izuku's pleas. "Are you sure you're ready, Izu baby?" Shoto asked. "Yes, Shoto. Please." With that, he moved, and the moment was filled with overwhelming sensations. "Harder!" Izuku exclaimed without realizing it. Shoto responded eagerly, and the intensity built between them. Afterward, they collapsed next to each other, Shoto peppering Izuku's neck with affectionate kisses. "How are you feeling, baby?" "I'm still coming down from the high." They both laughed softly as Shoto embraced Izuku. "Sleep, baby. I love you." "I love you too, Shoto." Izuku smiled sleepily and drifted into a deep slumber, followed closely by Shoto. Unbeknownst to them, the door opened, revealing a dark figure. Meanwhile, the double-date gang. Bakugo and Kirishima walked hand in hand next to Shinso and Denki, who had their arms linked. They had just returned from the movies and were headed towards the front doors of the house. Shinso chuckled. "Looks like Dad and Pops are busy again. Let's go check on Shoto and Izuku." They all laughed and walked inside. "Brothers? Y'all here?" Kirishima called out into the large house. Split up, I'll check their room." "You all check elsewhere," Shinso says quietly. He walks past his parents' room, relieved that all the rooms are soundproofed. As he puts his hand on Izuku and Shoto's doorknob and opens it, his face pales, and he nearly faints. He quickly closes the door and barely makes it to the bottom of the stairs before his knees give out. Denki rushes up to him. "Babe? What happened?" Bakugo and Kirishima soon join, ready to confront someone, but Shinso waves his hand and points to the kitchen. "Water," he squeaks out. Even Nizu would be ashamed of that squeak. Bakugo laughs and Shinso glares. Denki lifts him off the ground and sets him on a bar stool. "Gonna tell us what happened?" Shinso slowly looks at them, fear, regret, and pain etched on his face.